please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. You can follow us on Reddit, blankies.reddit.com. Big thanks to Ange Pergudo for our social media, Pat Reynolds and Joe Bowen for our artwork, Lane Montgomery for the theme song. And as always, podcast!
He did it back. He's doing it backwards. You get it because of the movie. That's the thing we do at the end. I'm explaining to our guests your stupid bit.
Oh, you can follow us on Twitter at BlankCheckPod or check us out on Facebook.
Please welcome everyone.
Oh, hi, everybody. Let me just shake this Polaroid quickly. My name is Griffin Newman.
I'm David Sims.
This is a podcast called Blank Check with Griffin and David.
Mm-hmm.
We follow filmographies, directors who had massive success early on in their careers, and then were given a series of blank checks to make whatever wild cinematic follies they wanted. And sometimes the checks clear, and sometimes they bounce, baby. And we're connoisseurs of context. We like looking at the larger picture of how the film got made, what it means in the larger arc of the person's career, and how the film was received at the time and how it's held up today.
When did you add that connoisseurs of context thing? I feel like you're doing that now.
I said a couple times, and then like Ben, a.k.a. producer Ben, a.k.a. the Ben-Deucer, a.k.a. producer Ben, a.k.a. Poet Laureate, a.k.a. the Haas.
This is a terrible way to welcome our guests.
A.k.a. the Tiebreaker, a.k.a. our finest film critic, a.k.a. the Meat Detective, a.k.a.
The Meat Detective?
I'm sorry, a.k.a. the Fart Lover.
Okay, great.
a.k.a. the Fuckmaster. He's not Professor Crispy.
No.
You can wish him a hello, Fennel.
I'm not a temperature queen either.
Right, good. We're getting all the bits out of the way.
He has graduated certain titles over the course of different miniseries, such as Producer Ben Kenobi, Kylo Ben, Ben Say Ben Night Shyamalan, Say Bennything, Ailey Benz with the $sign, and Warhus.
The fans love all this crap. Yeah,
you can talk. You gotta believe
I can talk.
Oh yeah. We like people to talk before we introduce them. That's the last bit.
Here's the cornerstone of this podcast: is that everything the fans love, David hates.
Right. Including sometimes whole episodes they demand that we do,
including entire co-hosts of this show.
No, hi.
Sometimes.
Hi, everybody. No,
sometimes.
Anyway.
That's a joke because we are, of course, hashtag the two friends.
Right.
We are two friends who host a podcast. That's a competitive advantage that does not apply to any other podcast that's ever existed.
Right.
So we trademarked that. We've hashtagged it. We're good. But what we like to do in this podcast are miniseries.
Uh-huh.
Focusing
Jesus,
on direct.
We're still in the intro.
And this is a miniseries on the films of Christopher Nolan.
Right.
And this miniseries is called The Pod Night Casts.
Apologies for the title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a tattoo on my thigh
Fact
that
6.
says, "Don't trust the Pod Night," and I'm trying to figure out who the Pod Night is. I don't know.
Okay, and we have a guest.
We have a guest today.
Yes.
Great guest.
It's a very exciting guest who we're annoying with all this crap.
She is a film critic for MTV. She's the host of the podcast, The Canon. Ladies and gentlemen, Amy Nicholson is here with us today.
Hey, guys. I've just had my mouth open in quiet astonishment for the last 3 minutes. Hello.
Christ. At least he did it all. You just did it all at once.
Yeah, well, get ready for the ending.
Oh, boy. Yeah, hi, Amy.
Hey, guys.
Welcome. Amy's in New York.
Amy's in New York from LA.
Yeah, cross-continental.
We flew you out here, as we do with all of our guests.
Right.
You're very rich. Thank you for putting me up at the Carlton.
Of course, anytime. I'm a superhero.
I feel like Tom Hanks and Joe versus the volcano. This has been a really magical week. Thank you. I feel like I can die happy now.
Please, my pleasure. It's honestly worth it to see the glint in your eye. So, of course, the blank check policy is...
We should do a John Patrick Shanley miniseries.
All two of them?
Isn't that Joe versus the volcano? He did that, right?
And Doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Did he direct a movie in between?
Let's find out. No. And I hate Doubt. I think that's a bad movie.
Let's do that miniseries.
What do you think of Doubt?
I think that every time Viola Davis lets her nose run, she gets nominated for an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
That's a secret power.
That's when she discovered it in Doubt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where she was like, let's try the one with nose running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that you have to wipe away snot from when it's running down your face. But what Viola Davis presupposes is maybe you don't.
Maybe you don't.
I fucked that up. Amy, of course, we have a rule that everyone knows that when we fly a guest out from another city on our dime, as we always do from our infinite pockets.
Could you upgrade me from business to first next time?
Well, it's one or the other. Because right now you had business, but you were allowed to bring one celebrity guest with you. As we know, when Fran Hoffner was on the show, she brought Ansel Elgort.
Right,
not into the studio.
I vaguely remember this bit. Okay.
Who is your celebrity plus one on the airplane?
Who would you like to ride an airplane with in general? That's a good question. Like, who would chill you out in an airplane?
That's true, because I'm going through a list of people I think would be interesting and then people who I think would be nightmares to sit next to.
Exactly.
Like, who's most likely to talk about themselves the whole time?
You don't want someone who's too funny or too, like, into doing, like, a lot of
I couldn't
bits.
deal with Anthony Kiedis.
You couldn't deal with Anthony Kiedis.
Do you think
he
he'd
talk
wear
about
a
himself
shirt
a lot?
on?
He wouldn't be wearing a shirt. He would just be going on and on about the Red Hot Chili Peppers and their new music.
I have
It's
a
like,
sub
no
question,
thanks.
and then we have to get to the movie. But I have a sub question. Have you ever seen anyone on a plane with their shirt off?
No.
Like in general, like a grown person.
I think I've seen people with barely not a shirt on,
with
like, on
a
the way to
wire
Vegas.
vest, yes.
Yeah, I've
mesh.
seen close to no shirt because it's like when it's a mesh vest, when is the line between is that a shirt or not? Like,
not
how much
really a
fabric
shirt.
do you technically need?
Or like Hawaiian shirt unbuttoned. That's another like almost shirtless look where it's like you're hanging out,
Yeah, it's like if you have a Hawaiian shirt with 7 buttons and you only have 1 button, are you wearing a shirt or not?
Barely.
Yeah, but if you unbutton the button, they're going to say you're not wearing a shirt,
Correct.
right? It's just this difference of an inch.
Is that the move too? When they're like, "Can you please put a shirt on?" You just button one button very passive aggressively.
See, I like when we get this philosophical because it really is. There's an inch that separates you between two different states of being. Really, it truly is just one button.
This is a shirtless movie. There's a
This is
lot
a
of
very shirtless
shirtlessness, male shirtlessness in this film.
My answer would be Vin Diesel, by the way. I would sit with Vin Diesel on the plane.
Fair
He's a
enough.
man of few words. He wouldn't talk the whole time, but when he had something to say, whoo, boy.
I don't usually like being negative, but the only thing I can think of is who I don't want to sit next to on a plane.
I think that's
sort of
a
like your
worthy
cheerful
answer.
producer.
Mhm.
And
Don't say Vin Diesel.
I just went to a thing where I saw Jewel talk every day. Like,
Okay.
and I went to this like Walmart Film Festival where Jewel was there, and I
wrote
saw
a great
Jewel.
piece about it, by the way, which
Oh,
is
thank you.
worth reading.
Well, I
It's
left
worth
out because it was a
reading.
little mean, but I saw Jewel first. I saw Jewel give a concert, and then I saw Jewel the next day like talk about mindfulness at a seminar.
Oh.
And then I saw Jewel on a panel about feminism in Hollywood. And each day she gave the exact same speech. And then at the fourth time I saw her was at the award show, and she gave the same speech again about her entire life. And I know her life story so well right now that it just becomes aggravating, and I'm mad at her. And she's literally the last person I would want to sit next to on a plane, because she would tell it to me again. I think she'd probably tell it to me twice.
What's Jewel doing these days, apart from apparently just starring as like the main centerpiece of a film festival? Like, does she
She's-
have an
yeah.
album?
She's starting a website about mindfulness. She's like really getting into teaching kids how to meditate so that they can deal with the stresses of the modern world.
All right.
Well, that's a great answer to your question. Because
She was
of
married
course,
to a rodeo clown
She was?
for like 10 years.
She lived in her car.
I did not know that. Did
I
she
did.
mention this?
I knew that very well.
Did she talk about the rodeo
It was
clown?
like a Hillary Swank situation.
She
Oh,
did
really?
not talk about she left out all the interesting stuff. She
I'm gonna
really
find
only
it.
talks about she talks about the time she turned down $1 million signing bonus, like nonstop. If you ever hear her talk, she'll talk about turning down $1 million signing bonus.
Like, because it was like too corporate, or like it wasn't
She
they didn't
felt
want to
like-
mess with her.
Yeah, she was like, I was a homeless teenager living in a car with my mom. I didn't have health insurance. I almost died because I had problems with my organs, and I went to a hospital and they wouldn't help me because
No, she
I
had
had no health
problems with her
insurance.
organs.
I forget which organ. I should remember if she said it enough times.
Yeah.
She was shoplifting a lot. She was stealing clothes. She stopped shoplifting when she saw herself in the mirror wearing a sundress and thought she'd gone too far. Then she started playing music. Oh God, now I'm
The
running through a whole
sundress?
biography.
Doing it.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But she became famous and local. And this is not the Jewel podcast.
No,
Anyways,
wait, I'm sorry. I just found out so much about Jewel. I just want to run it down real fast.
fine,
Okay,
it's Jewel
one, she
cast
dated
now.
Sean Penn. Did not know that.
Ooh.
In 95.
Eee.
So like really kind of trashy Sean Penn too. Like really
Wow.
scary Sean
Wasn't he
Penn.
married at that? When did he marry Robin Wright?
No, I feel like he marries Robin Wright like in the late 96. Okay. Oh.
Oh,
he
yeah.
only dates blondes. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's true. Because then he was with Charlize and he dated Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, he's
right?
very particular.
Isn't he dating Vincent D'Onofrio's daughter now?
Is she blonde?
No,
'Cause-
she looks like Vincent. No,
Then-
she's. I
then
think she's
no,
got, I think
there's
she's got
no
dark
way.
hair.
I refuse to believe that he's dating her unless she's like dyeing her hair.
Because
She is a blonde.
Vincent D'Onofrio's daughter.
Layla D'Onofrio.
Okay, so yeah.
She's sort of a dirty blonde, you know,
Is
like
she a
darker
natural blonde?
I don't have this information.
I can tell. Do you have a picture?
She looks. I'm going to guess. I don't know. I'm going to show you a picture, and you can make a decision. Here she is with Sean Penn. In fact, all right. Here we go. Here's a side by side of them.
No, she's a dyed blonde.
Looks like it.
Let
right?
me look one more time at the
No,
eyebrows.
it looks like it because she's got.
No,
like,
she's
yeah,
not.
eyebrows are
She's
blonde,
barely a blonde, but
Yeah.
you know she's fair haired. I suppose. I don't know. Also, she married a rodeo cowboy. I'm sorry for calling him a rodeo clown.
Yeah,
That might be
please.
rude. They were married for 10 years. and she is the cousin of Corianka Kilcher, who played Pocahontas.
I've heard
in
that
the New
dispelled.
World. Really?
I've heard her in interviews say that's not true and people just made that up.
Well, it's
Wait,
on Wikipedia.
Jewel saying that or the woman? from
Corianka.
Oh, Corianka. Well, she's the daughter of Ats Kilcher, an Alaskan, and
Right.
apparently Corianka is also. But maybe it's all made up.
Yeah, I don't know.
And she's estranged from her mother.
Oh, I
Was
didn't
she
know
accused
that.
of stealing money from her later in there?
They
Like,
used to live in the car together.
I don't know, man. So that's
They
what I
were
got
so
on
close.
Jewel. I don't think
Her family, she comes from a line of singers.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What I was going to say is, thank
Jewel
you so
was
much.
kind of at the height of her popularity with this when this movie came
I'd say
out,
this
right?
was
This was like
kind of the big-
Jewel's
Oh, my hands.
My Hands.
My hands. That's how that song, the title's pronounced, right? My hands. You have to
You
say
got
it like
Amy
that.
with that one.
You can't say my hands. Amy, thank you very much for answering the question. You chose to sit with Bizarro Jewel.
No,
On your
no,
phone.
I'm
Bizarro
not.
Jewel.
You want,
the
like,
opposite of Jewel.
I
Backwards
would say
Jewel.
I'm crashing this plane, but then I'll probably get stopped on my flight home.
Like the opposite of Jewel, so like Lewage or whatever, right?
Lewage.
Lewage.
Yeah. She gives clothes back to stores. And she lived in a boat.
So Jewel was at the height of her popularity. The year is 2000,
Uh-huh.
and the film Memento.
Yeah, this is obviously an episode about the movie Memento.
Right? Have we not mentioned that?
You know that, right? This is clearly, that's all we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm. This is about we're talking about Memento.
Christopher Nolan's breakout film, his second movie.
Amy-
Following.
Amy requested it, I believe.
It's one of the only Christopher Nolan films I like.
It's a good reason to request
Interesting. Now,
Wait, what are we talking about?
it. Memento.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry.
guys, I forgot to tell you, I slammed Ben into a bathroom mirror right before this episode started.
So he doesn't remember anything.
He might be like 75%.
How many bits are we fucking doing? They don't tell me about this shit, Amy. They don't tell me about these bits they planned.
Well, couldn't
They
you
did one
tell
on
from the
its-
blood gushing down his nose? I mean, it's obvious. It's all over the controls.
In David's defense, that's Ben's neutral state. For one reason or another, he always has blood pouring out of an
At
orifice.
least you didn't like wrap him in a shower curtain or what's another piece of
David,
imagery from
I would
Memento.
never do that. Ben
Yeah.
is my friend.
Yeah, there's blood.
Do you want me to put duct tape on anybody's mouth? Because I could do that.
Poor Dodd. We need to get into Dodd.
Dodd?
What happens to Dodd? We gotta talk. I just want to put that on the table so we don't forget it. I just want to resolve Dodd.
Do you think he's related to Lot Dodd?
From Star Wars? No,
Yeah, the
maybe.
Nemoidian?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
They look similar.
When did you turn off on Nolan then? Are you just sort of not a Nolan fan in general? Sort of, more recent, epic, widescreen Nolan? How do you feel about Christopher Nolan?
Well, say a week ago, you were at the Ehrlich wedding
I was.
that Dave and I were at, and I said, like, excited to have you on the show, and you said, I think it's the only one I like.
And then I immediately said, wait, no, I also like The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Sure.
And then I'm going to get kicked out, but I've never seen The Prestige.
Oh, wow. People
So
love,
I never have made it around to it. I
No,
don't know.
that's fine.
It just never happened.
I think isn't it on Netflix right now?
It is
or
on
something?
Netflix right
so,
now.
you could easily watch The Prestige, which, I feel like, movie nerds are always like, that's the best one. I think The Prestige is great. I like The Prestige.
And I've been lying and pretending I've seen The Prestige for so many years.
How does it feel to finally unburden yourself?
Gotta say, that's a real prestige move.
But I'm hoping that everybody forgets what I said in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But the later, like, Inception, Interstellar, the sort of recent Nolan, not your bag.
Well, I think the thing with recent Nolan that drives me insane is he reminds me of Ridley Scott in that he doesn't seem to care that much about people.
Mm-hmm.
He's just really full-blown went over into the world of plot.
Right.
And when I watch his films, I feel like I hear dialogue come out of his mouth that no human would ever say, and I don't think he really cares about people at all as anything more than just mechanics and this Rube Goldberg contraption
Right. They're
that's designed to
cogs.
celebrate how brilliant he is. So I will watch everything he does now because I want to know. I
Sure.
want to be on top of it. But I miss, maybe it's that you see a film like Memento at the start of a guy's career and you see one direction you want his career to go in, and to see him go so far askew, it makes you mad. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but Nolan is one of the first young auteurs that I've just bought in on right away.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Me too.
And I
Yeah,
felt
for
some
sure.
ownership over him. And maybe that's not fair of me to do.
No, but I know what you mean exactly. Like, and so what's the direction you wanted him to go in? Like you say, like, you see Memento and you think, what do you expect from this guy?
I expect there's something about directors when they work with limitation. And I feel like maybe that's something we're going to be talking about a lot today. That Memento is a film where pretty much his only technical effect is a reverse shot, the kind of thing that people have been doing since film was invented.
Right.
And everything else he had to do with like his imagination and with his dialogue and with his construction, and none of it came from pixels. And I think you work best when you're constrained. And I wish someone at Warner Brothers would have been like, cool, you are still never getting more than $50 million from us. Maybe 20, maybe 20. Maybe every film should try to be made for like 20, maybe 30.
20 tops.
Now I'm just messing with the number. But do you know, I think that's when you get most creative. I think
that's kind of one of the central conceits of our show.
Oh, really?
Is that like, yeah, I mean, we go around a lot, but the blank check idea is that people like,
it can be a curse as much as it can be a blessing.
But they want to earn that status where they can do whatever they want and write their own budgets and whatever. But oftentimes the best film they make is the one that gave them the blank check, which was the one that kind of happened by mistake to a degree.
Like the analogy, do you guys remember being in elementary school and being given like free writing exercises when they give you a piece of paper and they say, go, you have 20 minutes, write something?
Anything in your head, yeah.
Yeah, and if it's a blank piece of paper, it was always so hard.
Yeah.
But if they give you one sentence or it has to use the word banana or whatever, I feel like it's just easier to get even more creative. Like you are freer when you are constrained. Now I feel like that's Stalinist or something.
No, I agree. Do you folks want to hear something really dumb?
I totally agree with you. I also think it's a huge problem in TV, which I feel like I've talked about.
We've talked about
even
a lot.
more so in TV, because I feel like right now that's where the blank checks are being written more than anywhere else.
And it doesn't have to end.
Doesn't have to end. Doesn't really have to even like tell like a story every episode. It's kind of just like, just give us a season of a TV show. Like, do what you want, right?
My elementary school was so dumb that I think as a way of trying to teach that principle to us, they would only let us, like during art class, paint with one color at a time.
Really?
So they'd be like, this month is blue.
But
wait, would they hide the other colors?
And then like at the end of the month, they'd be like, huge announcement, green.
What?
I guess maybe no. I think they gave us each one incrementally. It wasn't one at a time, but it was like distinctly like
weird school did you go to?
Yeah, I know. We also didn't have gym class or theater class. We had rhythms class, which was interpretive exercise.
What is interpretive?
Is that just like explore the space?
It's like I want you to do 4 laps around the room as a horse. And that was like a woman with a scarf, and then there was a guy at a grand piano who would play music to like. They'd be like, here's a hula hoop, but you cannot use it as a hula hoop. Go! Like,
you went to like a
This
fancy
is why you
private school,
act.
right? Yeah, this is why.
Yeah,
This
100%.
is,
Yeah.
It's true. All the seeds are being planted.
It was like a weird, like crunchy.
Yeah, crunchy, hippie
school.
private school.
Yeah, it wasn't
right,
like a fancy
no,
one.
No,
it was
you weren't
like
taught to like, ride a horse or.
No, you were taught to run like a horse.
Right.
You were the horse.
Did you guys ever have to play with parachutes in gym class?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because do they still do that? That seems like the weirdest thing that happened only when I was a child.
Fucking
You did not play with
no.
parachutes.
Those big, well, I don't know if you know this, David grew up in London.
Well, I know. I grew up in New York.
Well, you have plenty of parachutes left over
elementary
from the
school.
war.
In elementary school, went to PS 87.
Right, you didn't go to London till later.
On Amsterdam and 78th until the 3rd grade. And that had this very weird playground that was designed by some architect who was like, I will design the perfect space for children. Like, he was like given free reign. He was given a blank check.
Oh.
And it was this amazing playground that was full of like covered bridges and all these like structures that went up and down that we could just hide in. And it was obviously a disaster for like grown-ups because they could not monitor us at all in it. It really was like a wonderful space like for children. So it was a great playground. They've destroyed it and replaced it, obviously, because it must have been like a health and safety like nightmare.
But you never had the rainbow parachute thing?
No.
And you grew up in California, right, Amy?
Yeah, in Texas. And in Texas, we definitely had the parachute thing. Like one of my first memories is doing the parachute. This might sound strange. You grab the parachute's a circle and everybody grabs around the ring and you just march carrying the parachute for no reason I could ever figure out to songs like the Ghostbusters theme song. And then you like wave the parachute up and down and it ripples.
I have seen that, right. Where you're almost like you're holding a big trampoline and someone's going to like jump from a building onto it.
But it fascinates me because it doesn't seem like you get that much exercise. And I don't know why we all did this.
I remember we'd only
maybe
get to
it was
do
just like, Jesus, they'll just, at least we can see where they all are and like, this won't be complicated. Like
I remember it being like a once a year thing, like maybe 2 max. It counted. It was like almost like a reward, or like the last day before Christmas break or something. You get to do a parachute day.
Do you think this is like a Cold War thing, where when the Cold War ended in the 80s,
We just had a lot.
they had all these
parachutes.
excess parachutes and
They
they
were all
gave them
rainbow
to
colored.
schools? Like, is that what happened?
Well, like I want to know what kids do now. Like I don't know enough like kids in elementary school. right
Probably
now.
playing their apps.
But can I
Probably
talk about England for a
tap-tapping.
second? Because in England, when I went to elementary school
Yeah.
in England, when I moved there when I was 9,
Humble brag.
they do the maypole all the time. They love that. Do you guys, where
Yeah.
there's a pole and a bunch of ribbons, and you all like run around it and
Yeah.
run around it.
Yeah,
and then
like
you all,
princesses.
yeah, like little
Like
princesses.
little princesses.
And they also like Morris dancing, which is like a sort of version of line dancing, where you're kind of like facing each other and you move around like that. That's good for kids.
You mean the
'cause-
one that you see in Jane Austen movies?
Yes.
You were a Jane
Well,
Austen dancer?
Well, that's like romantic line dancing where you like have your hands. You remember you touch. No, Morris dancing. Sometimes you have a stick and you just sort of like bang them together and like as you swap sides.
Oh, wow, they gave
Stick
kids
dancing?
sticks. That's a really good idea. Your
Yeah.
school sounds awesome.
Sticks.
Some-
Hanover School. It was a school for asthmatics built in the Victorian age. It was on the canal, Regent's Canal in London, because the idea was like they would get the sea air of this like polluted canal. It's like very silly. And the playground was on the roof.
Somehow
On the roof?
Yeah. it was a
Everything about this is
what?
so dangerous.
weird
I
school.
love
Yeah,
it.
we weren't allowed to play with real balls. We had these like foam balls because obviously if we kicked a ball over the roof, which was really easy to do, like we could harm someone. This is where I went to school.
my
I've
weird,
stunned you two into silence with this.
my weird country
I could
elementary
find it.
school also had the playground on the roof, and it was like a cage.
Yeah, no, we had very high.
Yeah, it was like on the
walls,
roof,
yeah.
but then they had these cage, like there was like fencing all around it and above us for that very reason, so no one like fell off the side or threw a ball or anything.
This makes me so glad I grew up in Texas, where we just
Yeah.
had giant fields.
Right,
That's
here's
all.
the
I mean,
thing,
we
there
were
was space.
soft as we could
None of that.
run around.
Yeah,
Here's my school, and that's obviously that's the roof. Those high cages. Hanover, it's a nice school, guys. Islington.
It looks like a prison.
Yeah, well,
My school was like by a swamp.
Ben grew up in New Jersey.
Yeah. And I'm surprised because we only played dodgeball.
like that sounds very Jersey though.
And it was just like, that was life.
It was just like gym class.
No,
you
it's
know where the
just-
dodgeballs are.
Basically, it's just like hit your friends with balls
I hated dodgeball.
Ben, no
year
offense,
round.
but I find nothing surprising about that. That is the least surprising thing
And
I've ever heard.
And I was a fat kid, and I always got hit.
Wait, you were a fat kid? I don't
Yeah.
see that because
You
you're
didn't
so
know this?
wiry.
Yeah, I was
Huh.
a fat kid.
Yeah,
How
dirt
they,
bike
fat?
Benny was tipping over the bike.
they were always
Yeah, how fat? Amy's question.
how fat?
Yeah.
Pretty big.
I feel like I'm setting it for joke. Like,
Oh,
how fat
here.
were you?
I'll show you a picture of my face.
Really? I've never seen the pictures. I've
I've never
only heard
seen
the
Kid
stories.
Ben. This is huge. The fans are gonna go crazy.
They're
you
going to
didn't
love
lose-
us talking about a picture they can't see. This is
It's
wonderful.
true. We'll post it on the Twitter.
You didn't lose the weight until like your 20s, right? When did you get skinny?
In college.
I
So,
was
this is
I was
me.
a skinny kid who got chubby once he was a teenager.
You could see my fat face in marching bands.
Is that you in the back?
Yeah.
That's you in the back?
You
You
could-
look like a little toy soldier.
What was your instrument?
At that time, they had me playing the tuba.
Oh boy, that is rude.
You have so much
Giving the
more
little
face.
fat kid a tuba. You had a lot more face back
Oh,
You had, like,
I
double
a
the
lot of
face.
Jeez. You saw this?
No, I need to see it.
Oh my God.
All right, slide it over.
He does look, he looks like a bespoke collectible. Like he looks like a precious moment statue.
Oh my god. Oh
He's
yeah,
so-
he really. You're right. He looks like a toy soldier. That's like the best way to.
He's so red-faced though.
I know. You also look really like grumpy, like because
Well,
your arms are folded.
That was our serious photo, and then we had another photo where we're having fun.
Have you gone to a reunion and everyone's like, damn.
Not yet, but I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean,
Huh.
everyone's gonna be surprised.
It's funny.
I mean, all the people that picked on me.
How old are you in that photo?
I am
25.
12.
You're 12. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. All right. I mean, that's an age where all kinds of things start happening.
That's
I guess
me.
you like stretch out. You.
Yeah.
Anyway, dodgeball.
So this, of course, is a podcast
So you
about
must
the
have
movie
gotten
Memento.
hit all the time.
Yeah, I was getting
You were a
beaned,
big
baby.
target.
All right. We gotta, yeah. Thank you for trying to get us back on track, Griffin.
Yeah,
for
we're
the
talking
first time
about
ever.
memories. We're talking about memories.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
That's
Yeah, wait,
true.
what are we doing again?
Oh
Ben.
boy.
Here, I'm gonna hand you a tissue. Just wipe
Oh, thanks.
the whole general face area.
Yeah. All right.
So Memento, coming off of Following.
Sure. He makes this tiny little. Have you ever seen Following?
I
His
haven't.
little sort of calling card movie.
I
That
was
is a festival hit.
taken aback by how similar these two films are stylistically, watching them close together. I mean, this movie really is like grown up Following.
Sure. Yeah. But it's also it reminded me of Insomnia, which I also watched right at the same time because they're both daytime noir movies. I forgot that there's like almost no night in this movie, which is, I feel like, a fun risk. Like, it's all like this, like washed out. It's somewhere in California, right? I assume like it's like.
Yeah, the license plates say Arizona. No,
Oh, do
they say Nevada.
They say Nevada. It's.
But they
it's
shot
the
it in
West.
California.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it looks like the kind of people you'd meet in Nevada on your way to Vegas. If
for
you've ever
sure.
made that drive, we've make that drive a lot living in LA.
I would love to make that drive. I've never been to Las Vegas. It's
Really?
one of my greatest regrets. I really need to get to Las Vegas.
It is fun for a little bit.
Well, the problem is I really like to gamble. So it's both like I really want to go, but also like I fear what would happen to me.
You and my father are so similar.
I know, it's true. We've
It's
talked
very-
about it. All right, so he makes Following.
Yeah.
He went on a cross-country trip. Let me give you some context, actually.
Hey, look, I'm a connoisseur of that.
He went on a cross-country trip with his brother Jonathan
Mhm.
from Chicago to L.A.
But let's make it clear, Chicago, the city, not big Chicago. Michael Shannon. They did not start the
That's
road trip
another
at
book.
Michael Shannon's feet.
No.
Oh, that's who I want to sit next to on a plane.
He'd be great.
Great choice.
Another Hawaiian shirt fanatic.
I was trying to think of someone in a Hawaiian shirt, and I can't believe I didn't even think of him.
But he keeps it buttoned. He's classy.
He's classy.
All the way up to the top.
I think he unbuttons the top too.
He should do a Nolan movie. He'd be fine for Nolan.
He'd be great in a Nolan.
Everybody would be lucky to do a Michael Shannon movie. with
Very
him.
true. Very
Nolan
true.
should
But,
do a Michael Shannon
Nolan's
movie.
good at casting actors who look like buildings, and Michael Shannon looks like a building. You know what I
Because
mean?
Michael Shannon should have been Jack Reacher. This is the thing. This is that he
I've gone
was
on about
written
this
for that.
so much.
Oh, man.
Really?
We did a Jack Reacher episode.
We love Jack Reacher on this podcast.
Jack
But
Reacher
imagine Jack Reacher with
needed to
Michael
be.
Shannon.
It's Liam Neeson or Michael Shannon. That's who it needed to
Like,
be.
that's who should.
I like
instead
the
of
idea
Cruise.
of Tom Cruise making a franchise like that and a character like that, but that specific character in that book should have been Michael Shannon
We
or
should
Liam
say
Neeson.
Amy wrote the book on Tom Cruise, who is this podcast's favorite movie star for sure.
We
I
talk
would
about
say.
it a lot.
We
Thank
talk
you.
about
I'm
it.
glad that you guys respect his talent.
We totally respect
but
it.
still, he should not have fucking been in Jack Reacher.
No, but like Griffin saying, I like to see him stretch, and it's a weird role for him. We love that movie.
Love the first Jack Reacher, dislike the second one.
The
Michael
second
Shannon
one's
should have
tough.
played it. Yeah.
Man, Michael Shannon would be a great Jack Reacher.
He's perfect. Like I was obsessed with those books before the movies came out, and so that in my whole head, I made it sound like a big place, but in my head, I kept thinking of how perfect he would be because you can just picture him walking down a dark alley in a white T-shirt
Right.
and jeans from a thrift store and his toothbrush and terrifying you, and that's what Jack Reacher's supposed to be, a guy who
true.
scares you the second you see him. He's not supposed to
Right.
surprise
In the
you.
movie, he surprises you. It's like, oh, I can deal with this guy. And Tom Cruise, then he does he breaks
Exactly.
your face.
And the movie actually really screws up the plot of the book.
I wish we had you on our Jack
Sorry.
Reacher
Yeah, we
episode
should have.
because that would have been awesome. But as a Cruise and Reacher fan, that must have been very scary when they were put together, like very confusing.
Well, the lucky thing is I wasn't a Cruise fan until I started to write the Cruise book.
Right.
So
You had not yet been converted to Cruise.
It's true. I thought he was a hack, and then I realized I was wrong.
Yeah.
So the whole thing of the book is me telling myself that I'm an idiot, and how did I get this wrong for so long?
I had a late conversion to him too. I didn't I actively disliked him until maybe like 2008.
Well, I've loved him since I saw Jerry Maguire. Anyway,
What's your favorite Cruise? Quickly.
Well, my favorite Cruise performance, even if it's not necessarily the best, is Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, he's great in Interview with the Vampire.
Cool
That's a
choice.
great pick.
Really cool.
He's
choice.
phenomenal in it.
I
And
love
Interview
that.
with a Vampire is what convinced me that he's an actor and Brad Pitt is not.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I
Brad
think I've
Pitt's
heard you make this
terrible
argument.
in that
yes,
movie. Yeah.
Brad Pitt's awful in that movie. I think Brad Pitt eventually figured out his stardom, how to use it in a sort of quasi cruisy way.
But he also definitely
he can be
needs a
bad.
good director.
I
He's
mean,
very
did
director
you see
dependent.
War Machine? He's like, that's a great example of a terrible Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
performance.
Wait, have you ever seen one of Brad Pitt's first movies, The Dark Side of the Sun?
I have not seen The Dark Side of the Sun. I have heard of it.
Because I have seen The Dark Side of the Sun.
Please.
It's the movie where he is a young rich boy who's allergic to the sun, and he spends the whole movie in a head to toe gimp mask, like actual zippers over the mouth. And he can't go
Jesus.
outside, and then he finally falls in love with a local girl. So she convinces him to have this one day in the sunshine, and he goes into the sea, and a dolphin comes up and like hits him in the face, and that was not scripted; it just happened. It was the first time Brad Pitt ever left the country. He never had a passport before. I think they shot it in Malta or something.
Good God.
Jeez.
Yeah, my college professor co-wrote this disastrous movie, so I've seen it.
Gotta see that.
I think like the earliest Pitt I've seen is like Johnny Suede or whatever. Those like, pretty boy movies he made.
Cool World.
Yeah, I've never seen Cool World.
He would love this. I mean, spoiler alert, like when he starts going into the sun, he gets lesions all over his body and he's like topless and skinny and covered in lesions.
I just love that some people had young Brad Pitt and they were like, okay, what movie should we put around him? What if he's covered head to toe in leather?
And then
most
lesions.
Beautiful human being who's ever existed. Let's cover him and then destroy his skin.
Okay, so anyway, while Chris and John were taking this cross-country trip, John pitched Chris on this idea, this movie idea. Guy with short-term memory
Had he already
loss.
written it as a short story at that point?
No.
Okay.
He pitches him on the idea. Then Christopher says to him, like, write the script.
Yeah.
And then Christopher decides, now it should be backwards. He comes up with the backwards idea. So Jonathan decides to write a short story version of it. Christopher writes the script. That's why it's sort of like quasi like based on a short story, but there's sort of like
they were kind of written simultaneously.
They were
it was
written
just sort of an
simultaneously.
idea incubator almost.
And then Christopher, I believe, in the same way that he wrote Following, he wrote it linear and then he messed it around. Like he didn't write it as you see it.
He just remixed it.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever
Christopher
read the
Nolan,
short story? I
the
read the
original
short
TJ
story as a
Khaled.
teenager. It's totally different. Yeah, thank you. Have anyone ever read the short story Memento Mori? No. It's basically just told from the perspective of Leonard in the mental institution.
Oh, that's very different.
Yeah. So it's not really the same at all.
I'm glad they cut the Maury, though.
Yeah.
That's
I
too
know.
much.
Memento's a good title.
It's
Sometimes-
a little too pretentious.
Sometimes Lessie is Maury. In the case of that title.
Wow, is he usually like that?
He's usually worse. He's toning
On
it down
fire?
for you.
Yeah, I'm usually like that.
Emma Thomas, Nolan's girlfriend at the time, now wife, who was like, she's a movie producer, but I think she was up and coming. She showed it to someone at Newmarket, the now defunct indie
Bernie
studio.
Shingle.
And he loved it and greenlit it, the producer there, for $4.5 million.
Which is kind of a big bet at that time. Off of Following?
I guess so, yeah. They shot it 7 weeks. Shot in LA. Brad Pitt was going to play Leonard, as I don't know if you knew, but it's great that he came
I'm
up.
glad he didn't.
Yeah.
Aaron Eckhart and Thomas Jane were both considered, and everyone passed. And then Guy Pearce, who had already been in like LA Confidential. He was like,
Correct. But this shot in 98?
Or
shot in 99?
it shot in 99
Because it comes out in 2000, right?
because The Matrix had already
That's
come
what
out.
I was going to ask. So they shoot this right after The Matrix comes out?
They like Carrie-Anne Moss in The Matrix. They cast her, and she suggests Joe Pantoliano for Teddy.
Wait, so you're telling me that Carrie-Anne Moss took out her ironing board and her steamer,
Yeah.
placed her clothing item on there,
Uh-huh.
ironed out all the creases,
Just
and
do
then
it.
passed Christopher Nolan a fine pair of Italian pants?
That's right. Joe Pantoliano. Apparently, the producers worried he would be too villainous. He's too obviously a scumbag. But they cast him anyway. He's great.
That's the Joey Pants pull. You can't hate
How do you
him.
feel about Joey Pants in this movie, Amy?
I really like him because he looks so insecure. He looks like an alley cat that you just dunked in dirty water.
His hair, his weird tufty hair.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
the cat's fault that he's repellent. That's just what the cat is. And to make you deal with your own natural repellence to a guy just because he seems awkward and he has that crooked grin, but he's not necessarily a bad guy. Like, we prejudge people.
We
Like
do,
Mr.
based
Pants.
on their. I mean, look. One thing that I noticed in this movie is that when he gets his photo taken, he's like, "Not here, not here," and there's no explanation for why he does that. Like, it's not like it plays a part in the plot.
Better lighting.
And
Yeah, he's
also-
just like,
yeah.
nah, come on. Like,
Well, and in the
inside.
photo, you keep on going like, why is his smile so weird?
Yeah,
and
right,
then when
it
they take
looks
the
so
photo,
funny.
it's because, the sun is right in his eyes, so he's like squinting to sort of block out the sun.
That's one of the many things I love about this movie is how the photos are all kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like, it would suck if they were all like these perfectly composed headshots. Like the Natalie photo, you can barely see her. Like,
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Like, if you made this movie in the age of Instagram,
Right.
you would know at least when you took all the pictures and you could make your little caption underneath it. But you would probably take 3 or 4 different pictures, and then maybe people would know what you were thinking about anyways, unless you made your account private.
No, you're
I was
right.
going through all of this in my head today.
This is a movie that, smartphones immediately make it irrelevant, right? Like, yeah, it's one
You
of
just be
those.
texting stuff to yourself.
Right. I mean, all noir movies cannot function in
Yeah.
the age of the smartphone, I guess.
But Memento
especially
really-
this,
yeah.
which is about like evidence.
It would be a movie about
and-
2 apps. He'd have his Evernote app, and he would have a private Instagram account, and he'd just scroll through them, and he'd go, great, I got all my information. I'm never having to search for a pen around Carrie-Anne Moss's house like a fucking idiot.
One of the best things about this movie is that, she defeats him by removing pens from her house. Like, that's his ultimate kryptonite. He's like, no pen! What do I do?
That's one of the things I love about this
movie. He should have a
movie.
tape recorder.
He really should.
He should be like, July 1st, it's me. This girl Natalie's like, she's up to no good. Like, and then...
So you want him to be Kyle MacLachlan?
Exactly.
Or
Right.
Henry from the Book of Henry.
Or Fletch.
Or
Fletch has a tape recorder.
Or Fletch.
I don't know about you guys, but Guy Pearce was a really big to me already when this movie came out, because Priscilla, Queen of the Desert was one of the first R-rated movies I ever snuck in to see.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
like 94, I think?
94,
Yes.
yeah. I was really young. I got
he's
picked
so
up by
good
an
in that.
older guy to go on a date, and that was the movie I wanted to see. My parents weren't going to let me because it was R-rated, and it became my favorite movie. And so I didn't know who he was at all when I saw that movie, or Terrence Stamp, or the guy whose
Hugo
name I'm just
Weaving.
blanking on, Hugo Weaving, who was then in The Matrix with Carrie-Anne Moss. I didn't know
Indeed.
any of these people were, and I just believed they were the people on the screen. I totally believed like Terrence Stamp was transgender. I believed all of it, and I believed Guy Pearce was just like a handsome gay Australian man. And then I realized he was an actor, and I felt very dumb.
Guy Pearce it's funny. He's so pretty, but
He's
in
so
such a
pretty.
strange way. But, he has those cheekbones and the very angular face.
Insane
so
bone structure.
He's perfect obviously for Priscilla, for that movie. But he's become, I love him now, where he's still kind of pretty, but he's a little older. And he looks like this sort of... Well, please go ahead.
It's the same argument I make about Tom Cruise, which Tom Cruise got more interesting as an actor once the bag started developing under his eyes. These guys who kind of look a little too perfect when the insecurities come.
Though. I just did a whole 80s Cruise run. I
I
rewatched
love
like
80s
Rain Man,
Cruise,
Color of
too.
Money.
Well, I love how his neck was really thick, and then his neck somehow got thin, and I don't know how he did that.
He made his head bigger.
You got one of those head enlargements.
You got one of those head pumps.
But the thing with Guy Pearce is he's not just pretty; he's prim. You
Yeah.
know, and he looks like almost unlikable. His lips can be pursed together when he wants them to be in this way that makes him seem unpleasant. He can
Which
also
I think he
look
uses
like
to his advantage.
exactly, and he can also look like in that one picture where he first kills the guy and he's like ecstatic.
Right.
He can look like a soccer hooligan.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. Giving him the blonde hair was actually a good touch,
Brilliant.
too, because it makes him seem kind of a little alien.
Yeah.
Because it's so white, his hair. Like, it's so light. But
He also has weird horse teeth, which
he
this
has
movie
funny
uses
teeth.
well when they want him to be a little unnerving. If he smiles a little too big, his whole face gets very distorted.
it's just crazy now how, I feel like he makes Memento, and he should be a big star after this, right? And he was almost in The Dark Knight as Two-Face,
Oh, really?
and
And I
feel-
think he was in the running for Batman and Begins.
he was in
right?
the running. He
was in,
auditioned
like,
for
the
Batman,
Six.
and instead he doesn't become a star.
He does the time machine.
Yeah, he kind of just vanishes. He's in Count of Monte Cristo. Remember that?
And then he sort of comes back
And he
late
resurfaces
2000s.
as this weird preening villain
Right.
guy, like in The King's Speech, in like that movie. What's it called? Lawless or whatever with Shia LaBeouf.
Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3. Like
He's really good in Animal Kingdom.
and now like the Alien movies where he's Wayland. Where
he's
he's
become
like
this like creepy character actor.
it's so odd. Sorry. What do you think, Amy?
I didn't know anybody else didn't consider him a major star, but maybe it's just my Priscilla grounding in him.
I consider him. I love him, and anytime I see him, I'm like very happy to see him. But he's just had an odd career. I'm sort of looking at his.
He doesn't really have an iconic leading role post Memento.
But Memento's. But he's so good in
They're
it.
all
Like,
sort of
well,
supporting
what's so
performers.
interesting about him is he's kind of Rob Lowian.
mhm,
You know, where
mhm.
Rob Lowe is handsome in the similar way,
right.
where Rob Lowe can't play anybody except people who are just a little unnervingly handsome, and it has to be part of the character. Like when he is in Parks and Rec.
Yes.
You know, like that's the kind
Yeah.
of character that Rob Lowe was designed to do, and Guy Pearce is like the slightly more villainous
Right.
version
Slightly
of
more
that,
like
slightly more twisted.
Snake-like version
Yeah.
of that. Yeah.
But it's like you almost play a character who vanity has to be built into the role, like it is when he plays Wyland in the Aliens movies.
Right, and I mean, this is before Memento, but I love his performance in LA Confidential, which is like a movie I've seen a zillion times,
And he would have won your Davy Award that year, right? For best lead.
for
Yeah.
sure. And that's like a movie where he's like very vain, like the character is very vain, and you're watching like slowly is it he both like gains and loses his vanity. You know what I mean? Like he figures out how to look and like how to be a cool cop, but he also realizes it's all like bullshit anyway. I love it. Like,
Wait, you know how like when you were in
Exley.
elementary school, a place we've been talking about a lot today, there was like the cutest boy in the class. And the cutest boy in the class tended to look like Guy Pearce did. That kind of shrunken Ken doll look.
Right, yeah. And the slightly like thinner face, like bones.
Yeah, he's
bones.
pretty.
Yeah,
and usually
pretty.
that guy grows up to be kind of hideous looking, but Guy Pearce just kept it going and he made it work as an adult. Maybe that's why he gets cast as these villain roles, is all of these producers are reminded of a guy who was mean to them when he was in 5th grade.
Yeah, someone
right.
throwing
They're like,
balls
fuck this
at
guy.
him.
Exactly.
And he's less charismatic, like I think by design. He doesn't like to be boringly charismatic. He's married to Carice Van Houten.
Really?
From Game of Thrones,
Black Book?
Melisandre from Black Book, Paul Verhoeven movie.
How long have they been married?
Not that long.
You know what I also don't know about him? How tall is he?
He is. I will tell you how tall he is.
He started out as a bodybuilder, right? Before he was an actor?
He started out. Oh my god!
I think he was a professional bodybuilder.
See, the thing in England, he's legendary as Mike from Neighbours, which is this Australian soap opera. So that's what I think of him from. I don't think he ever was a bodybuilder.
I think he was a bodybuilder.
All right. Well, we're just going to leave that. He is 5'11".
That's way taller than I would have thought.
Normal height. Yeah.
Doesn't he look like he'd be 5'8"?
Yeah, he looks like because he's small, like in a weird,
Compact, like a bodybuilder.
So
compact is usually the word you think of with bodybuilders.
he plays
Tom Cruise, all the great bodybuilders. Compact.
He plays Leonard. Leonard.
Oh right, we're
Shelby,
talking about the movie Memento. Yeah.
A supposed insurance investigator who has short-term memory loss,
Spoilers.
anterior grade amnesia, and after the murder of his wife, and he's on some weird revenge mission where he's trying to find her killer. We all know the plot of Memento, right? I mean, Jesus.
It's a tough movie to actually, because we usually go through the plot kind of and then have our observations as we hit those points, but it's a very tough movie to discuss chronologically.
It is.
Well, maybe we can go through it chronologically in the way that the movie
Backwards.
screws with our emotions.
Right.
I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second here. I won the junior state championship when I was about 10. I just found the whole world of bodybuilding really fascinating. The idea of actually changing yourself was fascinating. And then as I got older, I concentrated on developing my mind and spirit rather than my biceps. I was always looking at my biceps, wishing they were bigger.
No. Wait.
I was never quite the proud bodybuilder that I think some guys are. Guy Pearce.
He was a 10-year-old bodybuilder?
10-year-old bodybuilder is not a bodybuilder.
Through his teen years.
So he was like young Hercules.
Yep. And then when he hit his 20s, he started developing the mind.
So he waited until he was 20 to read a book.
Yeah, I guess.
They have 10-year-old bodybuilders?
Apparently.
What can
Australia is
do?
weird. Australia is a weird place.
They have 10-year-old alligator wrestlers? I don't know. I've never gotten to go to Australia yet.
I've also never been to Australia, but he moved there when he was 3 years old. He's actually born in Britain.
Oh, really?
He was raised in Australia. And you're right, competitive amateur bodybuilder until the age of 16. I just saw it. And he also fenced. Anyway, Guy Pearce. He plays Leonard Shelby.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie starts with a Polaroid of a murder.
He's shaking it.
He's shaking it backwards.
Just like Andre 3000 told him to do.
This very, like you say, it's like his big show-off shot. It's like Nolan's only big, right? Like he's got this reverse shot. He's got the David Julian, that sort of weird, synthesizer score.
And the Polaroid de-develops.
Right. And it goes backwards.
It undevelops.
I'm always fascinated by special effects that look like things that could happen in the real world and just really disorient you.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just such a difference between a special effect like a reversing Polaroid and a CGI dinosaur.
Sure,
and
right.
This Polaroid is so normal that the fact that it's bizarre blows your mind. Whereas a CGI dinosaur, I feel like you just shut off and you're like, who cares?
I agree with you. Right. You're immediately like, oh, I get it. It's fake. We're in fake land now.
Yeah. I was talking about the movie Seconds recently. Have you guys seen Seconds with John Frankenheimer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Years ago. Yeah.
There's just this little moment where he goes where this character tries to run around and escape in an elevator, and there's just no elevator button to get down. And it's just that little whoa.
That's such a good little nightmare.
It's the tiniest special effect. This is why I want directors to have $5. I mean, give them all $5 and see what they do.
I don't disagree with you. And like Griffin says, this is part of the concept of our movie. And, this
isn't a movie.
It's a weekend.
Yes.
In our Insomnia episode next week, which we've already recorded, we talk about how, even getting insomnia, what doesn't happen anymore. You make a movie like Memento, now you get the superhero movie right after that. At least, 15 years ago, it was like,
you make a $40 million movie.
Here's
a
star-driven, small, mystery movie, right? Now he makes this and he gets Spider-Man 8 or whatever.
Right.
Not to be derisive of Spider-Man 8, maybe it would be great. I have no idea.
Yeah. Spider-Man Homecoming 6.
But you're right. Like sometimes the director isn't ready for that yet.
No.
And then they get exposed as untalented. You can't get promoted too fast if you haven't learned how.
What's his pants? Fantastic Four guy. Trank. You're Tranks.
Well, I also think a big thing that happens now is that they will promote someone too fast because they go like, look, if it turns out they're up for the job, that's a benefit to us. And it turns out if they're not, then we overpower them and the studio takes over the movie.
Right.
Like it's easier to push over a guy like that if it's really IP-based brand building franchise movies versus if you hire Ridley Scott and Ridley Scott's going to stand his ground.
Sure.
I think that's like one of the large symptoms of studio filmmaking.
Right, but then you get like an Alien Covenant the other way around.
Yeah.
Where Ridley Scott's like, I have this specific idea for this movie.
And I bet Fox wishes that they could have hired someone like Josh Trank to make an Alien reboot.
I bet they do. Anyway, did you like Alien Covenant? Have you seen Alien Covenant?
Yeah, I saw Alien Covenant. I liked it better than Prometheus because I thought it was less pretentious and fewer speeches. But it's still. That girl though was great, and I'm just blanking on her name.
Watterson?
Catherine Watterson.
Yeah, Catherine Watterson. Yes. She just has this baby face, and she sort of looks like a stork, and she's really stretched out. She's also 5'11", like Sigourney and Guy Pearce.
She does have a bird face.
Compelling. I like her face.
I like her face a lot, and a bird face in a good way. Like I don't mean that.
Yeah,
like
I
she
think
does.
bird body. I'm trying to think what her face is more like. She does have an interesting quality. I mean, she looks unlike anyone else in movies.
Yeah, but it's also got that thing where like Christopher Nolan, Ridley Scott can't write dialogue for a human being to save his life. He doesn't know how humans talk.
Nor does he care anymore, right? He's more like, right, I have this big idea for my movie, and the dialogue's only in service of the plot, which is which he's leading with.
See, a difference between Nolan
this
and
movie
Scott
has decent dialogue.
This movie has good dialogue, I would argue. A difference between the two of them for me is I think Christopher Nolan works best when his characters are similar to him. Like, he can't write naturalistic human characters, but he can write guys who are as sort of clinical and obsessive as he is. And when that's the primary focus of the movie, I think the movie kind of works. I think Ridley Scott thinks he's more of a humanist than he is. You know, he's constantly sort of fighting with that. And like a character like David in Prometheus is probably much closer to how Ridley Scott views the world.
You mean Ridley Scott doesn't know he's a replicant?
Exactly.
That's what I'm arguing.
Exactly.
Spoiler alert.
Nolan's two biggest influences are for sure Michael Mann and Ridley Scott, who are both these robotic, at times, filmmakers, right?
Yeah.
And he would admit that, Nolan, that those are his two biggest like forebears.
But then the weird thing is, like, in terms of what he's come to represent in culture, it's like somewhere in between Steven Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick. Like, he's at this weird axiom of like cold precision,
but
like,
also
super analog,
superstar director status, like
populist.
Yeah, it's weird.
He's got little boys in the palm of his hand. Literally, he holds little boys when he's directing.
Memento.
Wait, yeah, what are we doing?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ben? How many times have I told you? Your name is Ben Hosley. Okay.
No, he knows his name is. That's the thing.
Your wife was murdered, and you have to come in here and podcast with us every week in order to find her.
Seeing Memento.
All right.
I saw it in the theaters in England. This movie came out in 2000 in England. It came out before it came out in America. It came out 20th of October, 2000. And this was definitely, I was 14 years old, and this is a movie that like blew my mind.
Didn't it come out in 2000 in the U.S.?
No, 2001. Came out March 16th, 2001.
Okay, fine.
And I bought it on VHS, and I made people watch it with me because I was a little teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember showing this to my mother, and one of her complaints being like, "Why does he know his name though?" Like, she just like did not like the short-term memory loss gimmick at all. Anyway, when did you guys see this movie? That was me.
I probably saw this movie after Batman Begins because that was the first Nolan movie I had seen. I'm a big Batman fan. That movie for me was like, oh, this is the comic book movie I've been wanting to see my whole life. And then after that, I like went back and watched Insomnia and Memento. Hadn't seen it since then. I have not seen it since 2005. Saw it once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. I watched it a bunch.
And I remember at the time, I mean, I definitely liked it more watching it this time because at the time I had seen it, it had been so overhyped. And it was one of those movies which a lot of shitty people liked. Mm-hmm. You know, like especially like 5 years after its release. It was like a movie that like a lot of dumb people wouldn't stop talking about.
You mean it was a Fight Club?
It was kind of a Fight Club.
Fight Club for sure.
And Nolan sort of
also
does fall...
starring a shirtless...
Correct.
Man, yeah.
But Nolan falls into that territory where it's like a lot of dumb people like his movies for the wrong reasons. You know, there are a lot of elements that I don't think are what he's consciously playing up to. It's different than Fight Club, which is like a satire and guys took it at face value.
Well, right. But the thing with Memento and with a lot of it was like, I get this movie, right? That became the thing, right?
It's like the way they say that Trump is a poor person's idea of a rich man.
Correct.
Right.
Nolan is a okay smart person's idea of a genius.
Right.
But what's fascinating about him to me, I mean, and this is that the whole thing that I sort of like can't crack of how Nolan, like what he reflects in society that has made him, especially in American culture. It's very odd because here you have this like sort of elitist, cold British man who should seem like the antithesis of what like mainstream audiences want to see in filmmaking. But he's like tapped into this very like universal thing. And it is that he is kind of like a dumb person's idea of a genius, which isn't to say he isn't smart, but he's this very particular type of smart where I think he's not watering himself down at all in his intelligence, but his level of intelligence and how he tells stories is just understandable enough for people to get with some effort so that they feel like they're smart.
Right. It's like breadcrumbs where you follow his breadcrumbs and at the end you feel full.
Because he's very clear in what he's doing. Anyone, if they're paying attention, can track onto it. And he's very aesthetically engaging, and he hires beautiful movie stars, and he's got cool sequences and cool plots.
Right, but he always prestiges really well. Like the third act, you're always like, yes, it all works.
And people feel
I
proud,
understand now.
like when they finish watching a Nolan movie.
Yeah, and none of this, I feel like as we're talking about it, it sounds like we're being condescending, but it's still cooler in a lot of ways than what other filmmakers are doing. He's not just like, here, take my garbage. He's like, let me strew this garbage around in this really artful way, and it's going to be modern art.
And at a certain point, especially, once I'm seeing movies like Interstellar, where I'm like, okay, this is just what he does. And like, I feel like you see enough movies by a director, and you stop being frustrated by their bit, whatever you want to call it, their tropes, and you're just like, oh yeah, look, of course.
Although I wish he didn't keep killing wives. He's like so
kills
into dead wives,
and this is a dead wife movie.
It's a dead wife movie, and he loves dead girlfriends. And I feel it like there's something in him that's like, I don't quite know what makes humans sad on a normal level, so he has to just take it to 11.
I feel like this is the common complaint about him, right? Where he's like, look, I've distilled a basic emotional arc into this very complicated epic puzzle that you walk through, right? Like I've made this cool maze.
But it's like he's
and
figured
then at
out
the end,
one
you
emotional
understand
arc.
what being sad is.
Right.
He just knows grief. He knows grief so well.
He likes grief.
But there's so much more interesting things in life than grief.
Right. But as I rewatch these movies for this podcast, I really do. He likes making movies about like ghosts, right? Like walking ghosts who have like a thing left to do. This movie is about a person who is basically dead.
He directed Casper, right?
He directed Casper, and then he moved on to this.
And Ghost Dad.
He did.
Ghost Dad.
And Ghost Ship.
Ghost Ship, sure.
And Ghost Dog?
He directed Ghost Dog.
That's yeah,
Wave
that's
the
a good
Samurai?
movie, right?
Yeah.
But this is about a guy
We gotta
who
add a lot more episodes onto this miniseries.
Maybe we should do a ghost pod.
Any movie with ghosts.
But remember, Ghost Dad, he's not a ghost, right? Remember, wasn't this what we got in trouble with at trivia?
He's not a dad. He's not a
like
ghost
in a
Ghost
coma
Dad?
or something.
He's in a coma, and he's like they think he's gonna die, and he enters a ghost state, and at the end of the movie, comes back to life.
Same trick that,
and then
Just
he gets
Like
a
Heaven
mistrial.
Oh, God.
Fuck off! All right.
Ugh.
All right. At least they're retrying it.
Are they definitely going to retry?
They announced it immediately.
Okay.
I mean, I've served on a jury. I was certainly not surprised, especially when I heard they'd come back and said, "What is beyond a reasonable doubt?" I remember when I was on a jury, that was a lot of discussion about like, what does that mean? Like,
were you the 12th angry man?
I was a little bit. Actually.
He was on the Cosby jury. That's what David's
No, I was not on the Cosby
now.
jury. It was a piece of shit case. Anyway.
What I was just
Sorry,
gonna say
I'm totally derailed.
Yeah.
Oh, when did you see Memento? That was my question.
Oh, yeah. I think about Memento a lot
Mhm.
because I feel like one conversation I feel like I'm always having with people is that I love VOD and streaming and as soon as you can stuff for indie movies now because
Sure,
I feel like
right. Everyone can see it if they
because
want.
everyone can see it. Like there's not this way of like you're only reviewing for a handful of people who hopefully will remember that this film exists when it's at the video store in a year.
Right.
Although I miss video stores a lot.
Yep,
So
me too.
Memento, when Memento played, it played at a theater maybe 45 minutes away from where I was a freshman in school.
Mhm.
And we all just piled into a car and drove out there together. It was just this big, big, big deal where I think we were full. We met up with a bunch of our friends at the theater. It was our night out. We were so excited to go and drive to see it.
Yeah.
And I miss that a little bit because I'm from
I
a
was
kind of
gonna
small
say.
town. And like you would look, my college was a small town. And to look around a little theater and to know everybody in there because you were all so excited to see this one movie that you had heard was good.
And also just sort of like we're talking about restrictions, like the lack of choice was almost exciting where it's like, what does the art house theater have? It has one screen. It has one movie every week. Like, what is it going to be? I will see it because I trust them enough, right?
Well, and also a movie like this that did break out a little bit outside of the art house. It's like that might be the one art house movie that makes it to a multiplex. It might only
Sure,
be in
right,
one
right.
multiplex within an hour range of where you are, but it might be the one.
That's exactly what this was.
Right.
There was like a big theater in a mall far away from us that sometimes would give one of their screens
Right.
to something
Right,
interesting.
If something kind of like broke out of the pack.
But did you enjoy the film when you saw it?
Absolutely. And I felt like I was like patting myself on the back. There's a cool new movie, and I've actually gotten to see it, which did not happen that much in Oklahoma.
Right. Shit. It made it to Oklahoma. I mean, obviously this movie was a huge hit it made like, we'll get to the box office, but it did well. It made about $25 million. Got a DGA nomination, which was the craziest thing.
And I got 2 Oscar nominations.
Writing
right?
and editing.
Right.
The editing nod was so funny because it's like, I mean, it's a perfectly well edited movie,
they
but
always do that.
obviously.
Anytime there's a movie with multiple narratives
Right, any
or
kind of
it's told out of
storyline
order, they
messed
give
up.
credit to the editor. And it's
Yes.
like the editor's just putting the pieces together in the way the writer told them to.
But yeah, it's
It's a well-edited movie.
it's a very
100%.
taut movie, especially considering it's pretty long. In my
it's
head,
like
it was
2
shorter,
hours.
but it's almost 2 hours long.
I always thought it was like a 90-minute picture.
Yeah.
It's like right at 2 hours.
So the plot of Memento, I just described it, and it's going backwards, and so that's the plot. What do you guys think of Memento?
Yeah. I mean, so I
Let's dig into Memento.
hadn't seen it since 2005 or 2006, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by, no joke, how little of it I remembered. I remembered the ending scene very vividly
Uh-huh.
and sort of the basic idea of it. But watching it, I was still like it felt like watching it for the first time because I couldn't remember how it all fit together.
Okay.
I couldn't remember the pieces. I just remembered the end point, the end
Yeah,
reveal.
I remember scenes. Like I remembered Carrie-Anne Moss
Mm-hmm.
coming
her
back,
big
like
scene.
messing with him. Yeah.
Right.
Who's so good in this and such a like undeveloped character.
Yeah, she's
She's a femme fatale. I guess that's the excuse.
what I like so much about this movie is how much it plays with just our need to prejudge everyone
Right.
else and assume that the hero is the hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you just
That's
assume
my
that
favorite thing about it, too.
Guy Pearce is on a quest.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, God damn it, who is messing with Guy Pearce's life? Never really considering that Guy Pearce could be messing with his own life.
Of course, right.
And-
And like he has those things early on where he's like, memories are unreliable. I trust evidence. And you're like, right, this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's got his folder. He's got his, he has a system. I have to trust this guy because he's perfectly crystallized his mission. But of course, like his mission, like all his stuff is bullshit. Right.
Well, there's
Carry on.
a
Sorry.
thing I love about this movie. There's the whole like metatextual element of like I feel like this movie is kind of a commentary on how people watch movies, and that like you engage with any scene and try to pick up on the contextual clues of how someone's behaving, how they're dressed, how the scene's lit, the things that give you all these signals of like, okay, who's my hero, who's my villain, when is the scene going to be, kind of like teasing a threat of danger or whatever. And he's sort of observing every scene the same way we are. Like the character in the movie has as little context as we do in the audience. So you're like, it's an amazing audience association movie.
Yeah.
Because you're just like seeing it through his eyes, trying to figure out like,
Right.
well, have these conversations happened before? Has he spoken to this person before? Is that his car or not?
Exactly. Even in that way where he tells us right on about Sammy.
Mhm.
And then like writing and he's like, did I tell you about Sammy? And we have that frustration of being someone in his life who already knows the story that he's already forgotten. And we immediately feel what it must be like to be around him.
Right.
And to that point, like what I think is so fun about this film is when a director is able to get inside the audience's head and just mess with it so much that you really I think when we think about like filmmaking and film construction, we think about like the look of it and the performances and how the script is written. But this film, watching it again today, it reminded me of watching. Did you guys get to see Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to see it in high frame rate?
I saw it in both. Weirdly enough. Yes.
Like I know it gets a lot of garbage for the high frame rate,
Mhm.
but that the use of high frame rate in Billy Lynn's Halftime Walk makes you so hyper alert and so uncomfortable and so miserable seeing all of the text of what's going on, seeing all of these people moving, seeing all the glitter and the pom-poms, that you really get to where he wants you to go with it, which is this is what PTSD feels like.
Right.
And he makes you feel it by using this technology.
It's manipulative, but in a good way. It's discombobulating. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's so hard to really do. And that does it well. And Memento does it well.
I think you're right. Yeah, Memento. Yeah, you're genuinely feel both like him, and you feel like people like Teddy around him who are.
I've never come up with a better term for this than like theme park movie, and it always sounds like derisive or backhanded, but it's that movie that makes you feel the exact way the character's feeling through like cinematic technique like this, and like Diving Bell and the Butterfly does that too, where it's like, we're going to use this to make you feel like it's almost a VR movie.
Yeah, because there's a difference between like audience empathy for what the audience is feeling and audience like awe and submission.
Mhm.
And I think he later on goes towards awe and submission. Like, here is a giant, astounding image, bow down, instead of thinking like only about your nervous system and what is your nervous system feeling and what is your brain doing.
Mhm. When you see a movie like this, you wish he'd make movies like this for sure. Like,
This movie also, it's like more fun than a lot of his other movies, and I like most of his films, but there's like, you feel a playfulness here. Like
Right,
the
with the
joy
spitting
he
in the
has.
beer.
Yeah, and just
he's
right.
I'm chasing this guy, he's chasing me.
it's like
that,
a dirty,
That's
grimy
great.
movie, and he's sort of like digging into all these weird little like scummy pockets of this culture, but also the fact like the joy he's having at the trick he's pulling off
because
is pretty infectious.
When you watch the movies, like the movie is really about this weird guy comes to town, and it might as well be like what's it called, Out of the Past or whatever, right? Like some fucking weirdo shows up. Everyone knows him. Oh, it's the memory guy.
Yeah, you can imagine this being like 1882 Nevada.
Exactly, right?
It almost is like a Western,
it's
like
what
he rides
this-
up on his horse.
This
and
shit
like,
town is that. It's like there's the bad bar that like, the guy deals coke out of, and there's the
Yeah.
discount inn that like no one's actually at, so he's renting multiple rooms to the memory guy just to
Right.
like cover the bills.
You can't tell Pants is the good kind of sheriff or the bad kind of
Who the
sheriff.
fuck is he? And then there's this like goddamn
Guy Pearce's
Blair
horse
Witch
thief.
house, like at the the bad end of town. Like, what is that
Yeah.
place? Where Joey Pants says like, it's this fucked up place. Like he doesn't even just like really. He's like, you don't want to go there. It's a fucked up place. And so it's about this guy wanders into town, and eventually everyone is like, oh, this guy, I could like do something with this guy. This guy's kind of useful because he just wants one thing, which is to find John G. I could get like, so Joey Pants is like, I can get some money out of sort of using him as a blunt.
Well, so Joey
instrument.
Pants is the cop who was assigned to his case to
Right.
find the man who murdered his wife.
Except, spoiler alert, didn't actually murder his wife. But the man who attacked him,
Yes.
the man who injured his brain.
Right.
And, but yes, yeah.
He finds the man.
They find him, they kill him, off books.
They take the cutest Polaroid of all time. What a sincere smile.
He looks like he's a Burning Man.
It really
does
He's like
look like
having
he's
the
a Burning
time of
Man.
his life.
It's so true. And it's perfect, right? Because he's illuminated by the flash of the Polaroid, and it's just black around him. Like, you have no idea what happened.
Winning smile. He's pointing to his nipple.
He's pointing to here where he's going to put, I did it. That's the
I know,
idea.
but it looks like he's pointing at his nipple. It's
sure,
me
fair
making
enough.
a funny.
Yeah.
What kept him from just writing I did it?
Well, there's a shot in the movie where you see her lying on his bare chest, and the tattoo's there, and you don't know if it's like right at the end when he's kind of like processing, like, oh yeah, maybe I'm like lying to myself, and you don't know, right? Did he just not do it, or did he do it and then get it removed, or like because I like the idea that even the tattoos aren't really very trustworthy, right? Like you can fuck with tattoos.
I was wondering watching this because now I feel like the big trend in tattoos for the last maybe 8 years has been like inspirational phrases all over the body.
Sure.
Which I don't think was quotes, like remember to breathe, tattoos like that, which I don't think people had that many of in 2000.
No.
2000 is like the
interesting.
end of the nose pierce, ear pierce, eye pierce trend.
Tattoos were more
the sort of like
symbol-based
right, the
icons.
Celtic art or the Sanskrit symbol or whatever.
the tribals weren't over
mall
yet.
tattoos.
Right, where
Named
they're
after
like
Darth Maul, of course.
where they would be like, look at all these like symbols we have. Does any of them speak to you? And
Right.
someone would be, I like that one. What does it mean? They'd be like, it means like cup of coffee and like Bengali. But sure, let's put it on your cheek.
Body
or whatever.
forever.
But you're wondering if this movie kind of was at the forefront of text-based tattoos.
Well,
in
yeah,
popular
because
culture.
he doesn't just have word tattoos. He has so many beautiful fonts.
Really good.
There
does.
is really good font
It's a great
selection.
font.
The
movie.
lady who's giving him the driver's license tattoo, the license plate tattoo, which is like aesthetically one of the least pleasing tattoos. It's literally just license plate number, blah, blah, blah. She's doing a great job. That looks like great.
freehand. It's a freehand serif font. It's amazing.
She's awesome. It's such a, I don't know who had the idea. I assume, one of the two Nolan brothers had this. It's such a good idea, the image of him, like just to look at him. And it's such a low scale prop, like just to paint him with all this weird makeup.
And they do a good job teasing it out because at the beginning of
Yes.
the film, you're just seeing the one on his hand. He's wearing this weird suit that's really high quality, but also doesn't fit him properly.
Which I love. That's
got this
another thing
alien
that's sort of
hair.
out of the past about him.
Yeah.
Why does he have this car? And
Right.
like right at the beginning, Joey Pants is like, your window's broken.
You're right about the alien thing, though, because the
like
character
a
he
ghost.
kind of looks like the most is David Bowie in Man Who Fell to Earth.
Oh,
Yes.
that's true.
Where it's like this guy's very handsome and very stylish, but weirdly off.
And yet what's weird is I think so many movies lazily write this hero character with the nice suit and the nice car, never questioning why he has it. And I like that this movie says, this is bizarre. This should not be happening. He should not have an endless supply of money. Why does he have all this money?
Where does he get the money from? Right. How does his, how does his mission work at all? And I love that one of the tattoos is an actual like plot twist in the movie when he finally lifts off the bandage and it says, "Don't answer the phone." That's great. And it's in such scary font, too. He has it in weird, like, impact lettering.
I love how the end credits of this movie are just a shot of him turning around and they're all tattooed on his back.
That'd be great.
The camera just slowly pans down.
What do you think of that line when he realizes that he has a gun and he says, well, I don't think they would let someone like me have a gun?
Right. And Teddy's like, fucking hope not.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh, no, we live in a world where we're having this fight all the time.
Right.
And yes, lots of people who should not have guns because of mental reasons are having guns.
For sure. But not only that, like the movie is kind of like he kind of does get to have a gun. Like that's sort of the problem. You're letting this guy run amok. He probably should be institutionalized.
Maybe the anti-gun lobby should just buy that 10-second clip and just be running it in ads all the time.
Fucking hope not.
But of course, this movie is the reason why I own a gun, because we got lunatics like Teddy running around. Us good
Teddy?
guys, good
What'd
guys
Teddy
like
ever
me.
do? All right, so Teddy's this right. So Teddy's this kind of like busted guy. I guess you don't even really know if he's a cop. But when you rewatch the movie, as I've rewatched it many, like the more you see it, like Teddy, you're like, what's this guy doing hanging out? Like, because he shows up in his car at one point. Like he has this weird familiarity with him.
Yeah.
That makes no sense when you consider the guy's never going to know who he is, right?
Right.
But I guess that's his move is just if I just am totally familiar with him, he will get that I'm not a threat.
Yeah, and like right from the beginning when you see him, there's all these signs that you can't trust him. The movie keeps setting it up like, that's not my car, that's not my truck. And he just feels like he's always mansplaining to him, I guess, like his life, and always being wrong. And you don't know if you can trust anything that's coming out of his mouth.
Right. And then, of course, he always looks at the Polaroids like, don't believe his lies. All right. Well, I won't believe his lies. But
which things are the lies?
But it's true. Teddy always just shows up and has what is basically seems like decent advice, which is you need to leave this town. And if Leonard probably knew that he's been hanging around this town for a long time, he would get that. But he doesn't know that. Yeah. He just knows that he just woke up like in his brain every 15 minutes. And he's like, so where am I again? Do I know you? I love how well he plays the fake, oh yeah, like the sort of like the Sammy Jenkins thing, essentially.
Yeah,
over and over again.
I relate so much to that because I feel like I have mild face blindness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like people self-diagnosing themselves with crazy diseases. So I probably do not have face blindness. I'm probably just terrible at looking at things. But I never recognize people. It's like very hard for me to recognize people usually. And so I live so much in that Sammy world of like preemptively smiling to make sure that if I forgot who that person is, they're not mad at me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's my continual state. So I empathize so much with that.
And to me, the scene in the bar where he's like, I'm here to see Natalie. And she's like, I'm Natalie. He's like, yeah, hey, how you doing? He's trying to just move with even though he literally just walked into this bar knowing nothing except I am Leonard and my wife is dead. Like every time that's what he remembers.
I have a coaster in a suit pocket. But it goes into like my larger Nolan read, which is all of his movies end up being about confidence. And very often they're about literal con men.
Sure.
And that's who this character ultimately turns out is revealed to be. But the but the way he's able to function.
He's conning himself.
Right, but they also say he was a con artist before.
Oh yeah, right. No. They say Sammy Jenkins was a con artist. Don't
they reveal that he was a con artist?
No, Joey Pants. I'm so nerdy because I've just seen this movie so many fucking times. The real plot is Sammy Jenkins is him.
Right.
He killed his wife by giving her a diabetic overdose.
I hope that's not it. That's terrible.
That's but Sammy Jenkins, who was a con man, who he rightly exposed as an insurance fraud investigator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's what Joey Pants said. I mean, this is all just what Teddy says.
Sure.
We don't know if it's true, but he's like, Sammy Jenkins was a con man. You're the one who the story's about. Like, that's you.
But they talk about how, he uses like con man techniques in order to make it through life because he has to fake it until he makes it. He has to go into rooms and seem like he knows what he's talking about. And that's like the ultimate currency in a Nolan movie. is speaking with authority, speaking calmly, having the facts, even if they're like written down on Polaroids. He's able to go into rooms and until people call him out on it, seem like he understands what's happening.
I don't want him to secretly be Sammy Jenkins. I think that's just such an unnecessary, complicated plot twist that reminds me of later Nolan. Like,
I know
this
what you
movie
mean,
doesn't need that at all.
It doesn't need it. I mean, the idea, obviously, that Nolan's trying to drive through is like this guy he's deluding himself, like intentionally.
Well,
right?
I like it on that straightforward level that we're all lying to ourselves about something. Because really, to me, what this movie is about is the quest for meaning in your life. Like,
for sure,
does your life have
has
purpose?
that
Do your
line.
actions have purpose? What do you have to do to pretend your actions have purpose? The way, like, I could be, that I convince myself sometimes that writing a review of an Adam Sandler movie is the greatest gift I can give the world right now, which is not true. But I'm deluding myself that is what gives the world meaning.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the whole quixotic thing about his quest is that like all he wants to do is kill this guy, and if he does it or if he did it, he won't remember it.
Right.
So he won't be satisfied unless he's able to do it again.
But I do think what's important about the end of the movie is he says like, no, I'll know if I do it. It'll be different somehow.
Something will change.
And Teddy's like, yeah, I thought so too, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And like, it's a good reversal of this sort of ghost movie because it's like, right, his unfinished business is finished.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because he's just trapped in this state anyway.
I mean, how amazing if Teddy just knocked him out and then got a giant happy eagle on his chest covering up. I wish he didn't have to go into so much detail about what happened to his wife.
Raped and murdered. I know.
But
It's
he's
a
like,
little
you
much.
could just say, like, you're avenging your wife.
He just said, you're happy now.
Yeah.
And every morning he looked in the mirror and went, oh, okay, I'm happy now.
Right, but it's like that's not possible, right? I mean, like that's
If you had enough money and you got a good tattoo artist, sure.
He's got a trunk with $200,000. I love that he's driving around with $200,000 in his trunk and he doesn't even know it.
This is such a funny character. Like when you remove
This
him
is
from
what
the
I'm saying,
context
like,
of this movie.
The movie is so bound to his perspective necessarily, obviously, because I mean, one thing also that's fun about the movie is when you're watching every scene, you're like, this has to wrap in a few minutes, like because they can't go
Can't
too
keep
long,
this going.
which
Yeah.
I think is like works well. And then when you finally see like the handoff, like Teddy going like Lenny, you're like, oh, I've seen this, and then that's always like a little like endorphin rush where you're like, oh, they did it again.
Which the Lenny thing also falls into like that, like how people view movies. Like he's doing a bad performance. Like Lenny is putting too much like spin on the like, hey buddy, how you doing?
You mean Teddy?
Teddy, sorry.
Yeah.
Teddy is doing that too much.
Right.
But that's how like in movies and shitty movies, especially as shorthand, we get like, oh, I guess these people are friends. Because a character's introduced in the first scene, they go like, hey buddy, how'd that fucking thing go? You go like, oh, they've known each other before.
I also like that when he explains his memory condition for the first time in the movie, he's explaining it to Mark Boone Jr., who plays the hotel clerk.
So well cast.
And especially once you're rewatching it, like, oh, this guy's heard this like 10 times. He just gets a kick out of the fact that he genuinely is like explaining it for the first time.
And everyone in the movie keeps on testing him in the way that like his wife tested him, if you believe that story. Carrie-Anne Moss.
But like,
tested him
that's the
with
thing,
spit
right?
in
No
the
one
beer.
can really buy it. They're like, come on, this can't be real. Like that, you don't know who.
But
it
there
is a
are
crazy-
actual people like that.
Yes,
now.
it's a real condition.
It is a real condition. You know what's interesting to me too is the way that you see these signs of use. You know that the car, his Jaguar, is like filthy.
Right.
And how did it get filthy? Where did the dust come from? And I like that idea of trying to like backdate it and try to figure out where it all happened from.
And the scratches on his face.
And then when
when
you realize he's walking into a bar dressed like the drug dealer, and everyone's like, "What is happening?"
Right, and she goes, "You can't walk into a bar wearing that suit." You
Right.
think it's a general comment about the suit being too nice for that place.
And that's
It's
the
like,
thing with Dodd too, where Dodd's like, "What are you doing driving this car?" But anyway, sorry, carry on.
But just like the way these like habitual things become so familiar to us that don't become familiar to him, like the car alarm.
Mhm.
For some reason, the car alarm always pops out to me because you just keep hearing that security thing, that beep, beep, beep,
Right.
beep, beep, beep. And he builds in patterns into the movie that make this world feel very familiar to us. It's like the only thing that feels grounding in a way.
Mm-hmm. You're right, and part of the idea is he's like, he survives by creating these like Pavlovian things that he can instantly be like, oh yeah, I know, like this is my room. I get that it's my room because my all my weird Polaroids are in here.
I mean, and you never know by the end of the movie how many rooms he actually has at this inn.
Right.
Love it.
You never know. You never know
Right.
if it's 3 or 4 or 7.
So yeah, and we should say like cross-cutting between the backwards chronology of the film are these forwards running black and white scenes that are much shorter of him on the phone
Which such
to
a smart
Teddy.
move for him to do it in black and white. It's such a simple thing, and talk about like not having the money to do anything crazy, but just like, okay, you just want to be able to track this story in pieces.
Right.
So anytime the movie's black and white, your brain can go like, okay, right, back to that narrative.
And he's wearing like a flannel shirt. He's like kind of like country Leonard,
Pre-scratch.
like before he became city Leonard. And he's talking to Teddy on the phone, and the score is like this weird like ticking noise, which I also think is crucial. I've seen this movie too many times. I had it on VHS. I watched it all the time. I once lost a babysitting contract because I showed it to a kid who was too young to see it. He wasn't that young. He was like 12.
That shouldn't be too young.
couldn't
yeah,
handle
that's not
it.
too young.
Well, he freaked out. Look, this is all. He didn't like it. I mean, he didn't freak out in front of me, but later he complained to his parents.
That time was going backwards.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
And he had become unstuck in time.
Because it's not a thing where you'd be worried that there's somebody living under your bed. I mean, maybe somebody hiding in your car.
I mean, it opens with a scene of violence that I guess is sort of nightmarish, like the blood rushing back into. But like apart from that, it's not really it's kind of a weirdly chaste movie. I guess they're sort of they're swearing and stuff.
Yeah,
but
Nolan
like,
doesn't like
Haven't
scenes.
12-year-olds just seen so much blood already?
hey man, look, maybe he was an innocent 12-year-old.
Well, let's
Maybe
call
they were
it
just
out,
looking
David.
for an excuse to.
Yeah, David, no.
Maybe he hated
the
me,
real
right.
reason they got angry at you is because they walked in their kid in the shower and he had a bunch of tattoos that said history paper due on Thursday.
Right, that he learned all the
Take
wrong
out
lessons.
the garbage.
So, so
Don't
Lenny
yell at your mom.
Lenny is looking for John G.
Yeah, that's
The
all he
killer
knows.
of his
The guy's
wife.
name's John G.
That he was maybe a drug dealer.
License
He's a
plate.
white male.
Right.
And then he's got this license plate.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we know that he has killed Teddy,
Yeah,
like to start the movie. But as the movie goes on, I feel like we are sort of more and more thinking like, I don't think Teddy's the guy. Like, right? This doesn't make sense. Because why would his killer
yeah,
or his wife's killer like hang out with him all the
so
time?
much. Do you think Teddy had to like put a lot of work into making sure he never accidentally went after John Goodman? Because they're in Nevada, like they're close enough to Goodman.
Where do you think John Goodman lives?
Oh, he lives in New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
Is he a Louisianan like he
Yeah.
was in Treme?
He takes it easy. That's why he was on Treme, because he was like, I can roll out of bed.
Is that what he was like? So I guess he kills Teddy, and then before that, there's the sort of like, if I'm going backwards, there's like the Natalie stuff.
Sure.
No, before that, there's Dodd, right?
Natalie kind of has her section in the middle of the movie.
No. Before
Yeah.
that is Dodd, where he like wakes up in a hotel room and there's a guy he's like tied up in his closet,
Yeah.
played by Callum Keith Rennie. And then you go back to Natalie and you realize like, oh, she sicked him on this guy.
Mhm.
Sort of. Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of.
Not really. It's more like Dodd just goes after him because he's obviously stolen the drug dealer's car and clothes.
Right.
And, right? I mean,
But she convinces him. I mean, she
convinces him that Dodd beat her up.
when in fact she fucked with
Him.
Leonard
He beat
until
her
he
up,
punched her. Right.
He punched her. Yeah. What do you make of that scene? I feel like that was a crux scene in the movie in general. The Natalie reversal.
Yeah, I mean, because we want to empathize with her so much when we
Right.
see her kiss him and say, like, you'll remember this. She becomes that femme
Right.
fatale where you wish that it was sincere.
And she's the one who sort of unveils him in the mirror, so we see all his tattoos in full.
I've never totally understood. So is her main play just she's trying to get revenge on
Yeah.
him for killing her boyfriend?
I think so, but I don't know. It's not like, and it's sort of the problem of many a Nolan character,
Right.
where they're plot function first and a character second.
Well, he
Yeah.
just likes brunette women with beautiful eyes who are fucking with people.
It's true.
Yeah.
She is a proto Marion Cotillard for him, right? Like, and then before that, I guess I'm trying to remember. Like, what else happens? Not much else happens. I guess it's just
Well, I guess we should talk about the Sammy Jenkins story a little bit.
Sammy Jenkins,
I'm sorry.
played by Stephen Tobolowsky,
And Thomas Lennon plays his
doctor,
Right.
and Harriet Simpson Harris, who's a great actress, great like character actress. She's the wife, Mrs. Jenkins.
Isn't it true that Stephen Tobolowsky used to have amnesia, that an accident happened to him?
That sounds like something, because I
heard
feel like
something like that. I mean, not just because seems very interested in these roles.
He
I mean,
does.
this and Groundhog's Day.
that's true, right? Roles where he is like a specter.
And
Like
Garfield
Bob-
the movie too. He plays a similar function.
I don't know. I also feel like Stephen Tobolowsky, because he has like the podcast where he tells all these like crazy stories from his life. That does sort of sound like something. I don't know.
Unless you think he's making it up. I mean, can we
maybe-
trust him? Like, do
yeah,
you have
maybe-
a tattoo on your body Do not trust Stephen Tobolowsky.
Well, that's the key to the
believe his
Tobolowsky
lies.
files is that he's an unreliable narrator.
But so I guess the fun of the movie is just all, like you see on Natalie's picture that something's been crossed out and written under it.
Uh-huh.
Right? You just want to see how all these things fall into place. Like he takes great care in making sure every little clue gets sort of its own little answer. And I guess that's why people responded to the movie so well. I don't know.
They're like, I know what was written on that. I am a genius.
And this is where, right, the criticism comes from, where he's like, you know, the somewhat patronizing criticism of like, he's just holding your hand through the whole thing.
He's a trickster.
But I don't think that's fair either. I think
But when people write themselves that big of a check and they're able to cash it,
right,
you know, just narratively, like
it's
making
impressive.
a really complicated plot. I mean, it's the same thing that gave M. Night Shyamalan his blank check. You know,
Yes.
It's like
right. You're impressed
And all in
at
the
the
same
parlor
stretch.
trick. Yes, it's true. Same period, exact same period.
And it's like you can't pull that off by accident. Whether or not you can repeat that, whether or not you can grow that and evolve that into something else, you can't make that kind of movie by accident.
Right, because people like Ebert thought that Memento was a movie you should only watch once, maybe twice, and then it didn't get any better than that. But you're, David, clearly like proving that wrong.
Well, I really liked the movie. I was a teenager, and I was just someone who watched as many movies as I could. But it was, you know, this is a pre-Netflix era, my teenagehood. And so I did watch it over and over again. I did enjoy it. But it was also one of those movies that when you're a teenager, you like showing other people movies. So I would like to my friends, I'd be like, "Ooh, you should watch this."
Right.
Yeah,
Cool.
there was
Garfield
a thing
the
when you
movie.
had stuff on tape where it was almost like trading underground records or
Exactly.
something. Like you had a special thing.
Right.
And you'd be like, come over and see this thing. You wouldn't just be like, oh, you should stream that someday. You made it like a social event.
Yeah. And the other movie was Clueless that I would try and make everyone watch because all the British boys were like, I don't want to watch that. That's not for boys. And I would have been, no, it's good. It's good. You're going to get
You
it.
boys get so limited. Thank you for making them watch it.
And
That's one of my favorite movies.
That's the movie I've seen the most is Clueless.
Did it seem alien to them? Like,
Yes.
was British teen
I had to
culture
explain
different
so
enough?
many jokes.
Yeah,
I had to explain like what Cliff's Notes were because that's a great joke in Clueless when she writes like a little love letter for the teachers and Dion's like, "That's a beautiful quote. Where'd you get that?" And she's like, "Cliff's Notes." And no British person understands that. So I always had to like pause and be like, "Let me explain what Cliff's Notes is."
And meanwhile, they're like, we just hit each other with sticks in recess.
You
A
hit the
Morris
sticks
dance.
together. You hit the sticks together.
So you were like the annotated Clueless.
Oh God, I love Clueless.
You were like
I
the
still love
Cliff
Clueless.
Notes of American comedies.
A little bit, yeah. But I was like an American, right? I tried to explain what America really was to these people, and they
You're
like
like
'cause-
Clueless. This is basically a documentary of
right.
American
This is
life.
American life because they, like the most common thing that kids would do to me all the time would be to pinch my nose and say, "Now you can't talk," because in Britain the joke was like Americans talk through their nose.
Oh, really?
Because we have nasal voices. That's
What are they talking about?
You'd be like, "Uh-oh, you can't talk anymore, can you?" Like that was a joke that multiple people did to me. Isn't that strange?
Sucks.
I've never heard of that. Can you still talk? I'm like testing
Of
it
course
out.
you can still talk.
Yeah.
It's
This is
just-
me
you sound a
talking with
little
my
weird.
nose
Right.
pitched.
I feel like we all pretty much sound
But-
the same.
But to British people, Americans, they have like such a nasal voice, like that they thought we just talked out of our
Where do
noses.
they talk from?
I don't know. That's a good
Buttholes.
point.
Stinky butthole.
I remember.
talkers.
I don't know why this is David's memory lane, but I remember when I was 10 years old. Kids in Britain call each other bastards all the time, like bastards.
Yeah, sure.
For some reason, that was, and I remember trying it out and saying it wrong, saying bastard, and everyone laughing at me. Like, because I didn't know I was going to say it wrong.
Look, this is a movie about memory.
Anyway.
We're relating our own experiences
Wasn't
to those
it
of
you
Leonard
who
Shelby.
pointed out that one Nolan has a British accent and the other one doesn't?
We talked about this. I think we might talk about it next week, or no? Did we talk about it on the following episode? We
Can't
figured
remember.
out why. Huh? I
They
think it
grew
was
up-
the following
They grew up
episode.
separately. Their parents
They
were
grew
divorced.
up separately.
And one grew up in Chicago, one grew up in London.
So it's like the Parent Trap.
Mhm.
And then they did a Parent Trap and they got back together. But no, yeah, they grew up. He grew up in Chicago. Christopher, and of course, as we mentioned on the following episode, Christopher had an older brother who was a con artist who was sent to prison. And I feel like nobody knows that, but it is interesting to hear about
It's
in
the
the
key.
context of his work.
Because it's like what he's obsessed
He
with.
makes
He's
so many
obsessed
movies
with
about con artists.
people
But his
who make-
mom lived. His mom didn't get murdered, right?
No, I don't
Okay.
think he has any like women haunting him or anything like that.
And he should.
But it's just funny when you. Would you haunt Christopher Nolan?
No, he seems tedious. I can think
I
of
think it'd be a
much.
little
I'd rather,
boring.
yeah, let me haunt Michael Shannon.
Take Chicago.
Ben, what's your take? You said you had a take on this movie.
Oh, you said it was really smart and good.
I just wanted to get to that before we wrap things up.
Ben, here, check out this Polaroid. See if that jogs anything.
Oh, thanks. Okay, yeah, right. So this movie is like a term paper.
Go on.
It's so like hard to follow.
Uh-huh.
I felt like I had to work at it.
Had you seen it before, or was this it?
Yeah, I'd seen it, but I don't know. I didn't retain any of it, so it was fine. It's just like I'm like, what? Why make it so confusing?
You just wish it was just straight shot, start to finish.
This is my thing. Make movies easier to follow.
Great, thank you, Ben.
Copy paste, add a fucking montage, make it sexy. You got a movie.
Make it sexy.
Ben's favorite movie is Fletch.
Yeah. You know what's going to happen? He's going to save the day and get the girl.
Well, because he's working overtime.
Gotta work overtime.
Fletch is working overtime.
Thanks, Ben. You should have looked around the room.
Well, he doesn't remember where he is.
What?
Oh, God.
Your producer, Ben, record the podcast.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was going to say. He kills Jimmy Grant at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then he sets himself on this path. That's the right thing. That's the prestige.
That he's going to kill Teddy this time.
Yeah. He decides, like, he writes Don't Believe His Lies. And that's like, he's like creating like a little wrench in his like, machine that's going to eventually resolve with the murder of Teddy.
Which I find the ending oddly optimistic because, I mean, A, yes, he's giving himself another like false flag to murder. But B, it's also like if he murders Teddy, he's freed of this guy who's forcing him to murder other people.
You're right. Like,
you don't think Carrie-Anne Moss is going to go find him in like 20 minutes later? He's going to be like, oh, here's this coaster. I should go meet
That's why we need to
Moss.
see Memento. That's why he needs to go back to the well.
Memento?
Yeah, you're right.
But
that's better.
Memento, yeah, that's much better.
That's
Jesus,
much better.
Your fucking face is red right now, Griffin.
I'm really angry at myself.
No, but I find the end of the movie when he commits this murder, right, and immediately realizes like, oh fuck, this isn't the guy, and then he confronts Teddy, and Teddy says all this stuff. Then in response, he throws Teddy's keys into like some rushes, and Teddy, Joe Pantoliano, who's wonderful, he's so good at pathetically looking for those keys. He's looking for those keys for like 10 minutes while, Leonard's just sitting there having this whole internal monologue about like, is this true? Do I do this to myself? Teddy is rifling around for those keys.
Teddy, go look for those keys. I gotta do some voiceover.
If I'm looking for those keys, you'd be like, you wouldn't buy it. You'd be like, hey, the keys are right there. He would have seen the keys. Like Joey Pants can make himself so pathetic that you really feel so bad for him, like in this moment of his death sentence.
I would argue that Joey Pants is one of the best, like, transformative status actors. Like, he's really good at within a movie going from high status to low status and selling both, even though he's kind of a guy who's like right in the middle. He doesn't seem particularly pathetic or particularly impressive. But like, there's so many movies like Midnight Run's another one where it starts out and it's like, he's got like fucking De Niro by the balls. And at the end of the movie, De Niro's just like, fuck you. And you're like, this guy sucks. That's my hot take on Midnight Run.
Do you want to know some fun facts about Joey Pants?
Yeah.
He runs a nonprofit called No Kidding Me Too about depression for actors who have depression. Because he says anytime he says that to another actor, like, oh, I've suffered from clinical depression, they go, no kidding, me too. So that's what it's called.
Isn't that so cute?
That's beautiful.
He's
really
a wonderful
sweet.
man.
That sounds like a great sequel to Memento. Should Memento just be called No Kidding, Me Too?
No kidding, me too. No kidding, Memento. Do you think it's his most, I mean, I guess The Matrix is his most famous, and then Sopranos.
And then this and the Midnight Run.
And then LA Confidential.
He's got
The Fugitive.
Right,
he's got
the
the
dude.
How do you feel about Joey Pants? We've praised Joey Pants.
We love
You've
him.
praised him. He's so praised.
Yeah.
Like, he's like Joey Tuxedo now.
Can we talk about Carrie-Anne Moss a little bit? Because
we
it's
talked
weird,
about her.
But just it's weird that she has Matrix,
Mm-hmm.
then this,
And
then
there was
two
like
Matrix sequels.
She got legit Oscar buzz because this movie was sort of an underground like sleeper hit.
And I think she is really good in this. I mean, those scenes are complicated.
she's excellent.
She really pulls them off.
She was in Chocolat the year before as
right.
well, which she also plays an abused wife in that. I think she doesn't have much to do.
And then she had like a couple failed, like Red Planet.
Yeah, she's in Red Planet.
It was sort of weird that she never got her own vehicle.
I wonder if like Angelina Jolie just ascended and took over the dark-haired,
The
green-eyed,
femme fatale.
like femme fatale. Like she just kind of supplanted her and then got all the
Jolie
roles.
kind of surprisingly made the detour into action movies. When she seemed a little more highbrow, Carrie-Anne Moss probably would have been Laura
she
Croft
could have been
type.
in Wanted or Laura Croft.
Exactly.
She'd be perfect for that.
The other thing, I mean, she was 32 when The Matrix hit. So, like, you know, Hollywood is not a very nice industry to women who hit in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And there's also like Linda Fiorentino at this time too. There's a lot of competition for this niche.
And that's the kind of movie because weren't we talking about John Dahl like last week?
We were saying that like Christopher Nolan with following Memento and Insomnia.
It's like, oh, he's the noir guy.
The best version of John Dahl.
John
like
Dahl,
that's
who
what he
made
was going
The
to
Last
do.
Seduction.
And he was going to do like, you know, good mid-budget studio, fine cast, neo-noirs.
And it's the same thing with Bryan Singer, honestly. Like Public Access, Usual Suspect, App Pupil. It's like, oh right, yeah, here
That's
this
his
guy's
guys.
going to make these like hard-boiled '90s R-rated movies.
And then somehow Christopher McQuarrie just ended up making them forever. And I wish he would stop.
What do you want Mr. McQuarrie to do?
I don't need him to do really anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine if he doesn't do anything.
He just chills out.
Yeah, he can just relax. He can just take his Usual Suspects money and just go like limp off and be fine.
He's Tom's guy now because
it's a shame.
he's on the Mummy.
He's
Credits.
killing Tom's career, I feel like. I really do. I mean,
see, I like these. I like the McQuarrie. I like the movies where McQuarrie's got a strong hand in it. I like Rogue Nation. I like Edge of Tomorrow. I like the first Jack Reacher.
my theory is Cruise felt so betrayed and isolated after 2005 that he just wanted to trust someone and he just latched onto McQuarrie.
Yeah.
And he won't let it go. Because before then, Cruise barely ever worked with the same director twice.
I know, and I think Lyman is that guy for Cruise too. He trusts him too.
And I think he's trusting the wrong people.
Well, I mean, I think it's more like you say, it's a trust issue in general. He needs to go back to how he was in the 90s, where it's like, you are a great director. I am Tom Cruise. I respect great art.
Use me.
Which he was almost like too forceful about, but still, like he
But he
really
would do
was
it.
like, I worship at the altar of you. Oh, Stanley Kubrick. Oh, you know, whoever.
Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Paul
I saw
Thomas
your
Anderson,
first film.
right.
You're going to make something great. Put me in it.
And so, like, what do you want me to do? Okay, I'll do it. Sounds weird, but okay, I'll do it. And now he doesn't do that anymore.
I know. Like, what we should do is take Polaroids of Christopher McQuarrie and Doug Liman and write,
Don't
do not
believe these
trust
lies.
these men, and just put them in his pocket.
And the Scientology guy.
Have we already talked about how it'd be interesting to see Tom Cruise do a Christopher Nolan movie? Did
Well,
we
I
talk
mean,
about that in
my
another
opinion with
episode?
Nolan in general is I'd like to see X star do a Christopher Nolan
Sure.
movie because he's pretty good with stars. Like, I'd like to see a Clooney Nolan movie. Like, but that's almost more a complaint about how movie stars don't get to make fun movies anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Like, I feel like that's sort of what we really mean by that.
So I had this thought watching it this time that, you know, we had talked about these first three Nolan movies as this little neo-noir trilogy that then he diverted from so much. And we recorded our Insomnia episode before this episode just because of scheduling stuff.
Yeah.
So I rewatched this after rewatching Insomnia. And I was just like, God, the leap from this to Batman is so weird that, like, he transitioned so well that they would give him the job, that they could see how he would apply the style. But, like, there's, I think, a cleaner, shorter line between this and Batman. Because this movie does feel very, like, 90s comic booky to me in a certain way. Like, it feels like a Vertigo miniseries.
Sure,
of,
like an Ed Brubaker.
Right. Like, here's a
hard-boiled
weird,
thriller.
high-concept, like, noir thing, you know, with, like, these grimy
Well, it is
archetypal
high concept.
characters. Yes.
Yeah, that's why. That's why.
And there's something very pulpy about it.
Yeah.
You know? In how he does have almost this weird superpower, and everyone sort of talks about it. Like, it's a burden.
Memory guy.
Right. But he's memory guy. Like, it does feel like it could be a Vertigo title, or he could be like a marginal villain that Batman fought for like 4 issues in 1987.
Oh, yeah, the guy that Batman keeps fighting and then he just keeps coming after him because he didn't know that he already fought him and
The
lost.
problem is the guy
Batman.
doesn't know he's been defeated.
Your crimes will not. You know.
You can't beat someone who has no shame because they don't remember being embarrassed.
That's what he is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What other? I feel like we're wrapping up, but like, what? If you took some notes, is there anything else, Amy, that you want to point out?
I mean, just this idea that I think we are very gullible as audience members, which I think we've kind of been touching on a little bit, but to me, that's just this main thing I love is like, I think we have a tendency to sit down in the theater and believe everything we're told about everybody.
Yeah.
We're not cynical in the theater. You know, I think
it's like going to a magic show. You kind of need to be not cynical.
Exactly. And so I like the feeling of being taken advantage of in this way. In the way where it reminds me not to be so naive about everything I see at the theater.
You should watch Prestige. I think that's the other
You like
Nolan
The
movie that
Prestige.
functions
I agree.
in
I
this way.
should see it, but we spend our lives watching new garbage, and I never have a chance to watch old garbage. Or old classics.
Old
Hey.
classics. No, but wait. What? I mean, so are you? Because I'm like this. Like when I'm seeing a murder mystery or whatever, some movie, I never like try too hard to figure it out. I'm always just like it'll wash over me soon enough, right? Like I feel like some people go into the movie thinking like I'm going to solve this movie while it's happening.
Which is why I think a lot of people like Nolan movies, because people
Yeah.
want to feel like they like won.
You're right, but no, I'm like you. I don't actually try to guess. I mean, I get annoyed. You sort of think right
It's
away,
annoying when
I
it's too
hope it's
easy.
not that
Right,
guy.
right.
And then if it is that guy, I'm mad. But I'm not busy doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more concentrating on everything else.
Movies should be
Agreed.
experiential.
Yeah. Do you
Especially
guys
watching for the
want to
first time.
play the box office game?
So we do a game where I try to guess the box office the week the movie came out.
This is a weird one.
This is a weird one. My father and I read the box office every Monday when it came out because he was obsessed with sports stats, and that's how I bonded with my brother. And I hate sports, so I have all this stuff burned into my memory forever because it was the only way I could build a bridge emotionally to my father.
Oh,
Wow, that sounds very Nolan-esque.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan should make a movie about you.
Father's a great man.
So this film came out. We should say it was a hit at Sundance. So that was where it sort of got buzzed. And it had been a hit overseas. Comes out March 16th, 2001, right after the Oscars, or right before, right in the Oscar season of last year.
Yeah.
It makes $25 million domestic, 39 worldwide, which is very nice for
Would have been like 40-something adjusted, I think.
sure. And it opens number 27 on 11 screens, makes $230,000. So it's not in the top 5. So number 1, March 16th, 2001, which is that's great for the box office game because there's no good movies.
Yeah, right. Because summer 2001 is very, very big to me. But this is right before we have The Shrekkening, right before The Mummy returns, right before Dr. Dolittle 2 knocks on our door. The Fast and the Furious.
So number 1 is an action movie, an R-rated action movie starring a washed-up action star of an earlier era and
Exit
a
Wounds?
rapper. Yes. Got it before I even said and a rapper.
Because I remember it being so weird.
It was a big, nice opening weekend, 18 mil.
Well, and Steven Seagal's slump happened, his last successful movie before Exit Wounds was before I started tracking the box office. So when out of nowhere he had a $20 million opener, I was since when does Steven Seagal make money? My dad was like 10 years ago. Let's
Steven
not talk about it.
Seagal and DMX.
Yeah, I saw the movie in theaters.
I have never seen it. Have you seen Exit Wounds?
God, no.
It is on Box Office Mojo's. It's the 4th highest dirty cop movie behind LA Confidential, Training Day, and The Departed.
It's got 2 comic relief characters in it. One of them is Tom Arnold. The other one is Anthony Anderson. The only thing I remember of that movie is the last scene is clearly them being like, oh, these 2 guys are funny. Let's add a scene for the end credits of them talking. And it's just Tom Arnold and Anthony Anderson talking about jerking off.
Oh, God.
Number 1 at the domestic box office.
Eva Mendes is also in it, apparently. I don't know.
I don't remember that, but sure.
Number 2 was, at the time, one of the most expensive European films ever made. It's a war movie. I saw this in theaters.
It's not Joan of Arc.
No, it stars 2 very pretty British actors. And 1 very pretty British actress.
Enemy at the Gates.
Starring?
It's Jude Law.
Yep.
And the other one is it's Joseph Fiennes?
Joseph Fiennes.
And Rachel Weisz and Jean-Jacques Annaud directed it?
Yes, and Ed Harris is in it as well. It's about the Battle of Stalingrad. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Yeah. It's a bad movie.
I didn't get to see a lot of movies this semester.
I'm so sorry.
I remember
I don't mean to
No, I'm just
rub it in.
I feel very Memento in my daily life, as I said, and I have a very hard time remembering movies I've even seen.
He's
and
the
so
opposite.
I'm impressed by this. This is really knocking
I
me
think
out.
there's a sex scene in Enemy at the Gates where
there is a
in the
quite
trenches
a
when
bizarre
all these
sex
other
scene.
soldiers are sleeping around him, and it's that's just kind of rude.
Yeah, where they're having sex in a muddy trench 3 weeks into the Battle of Stalingrad.
Because she's disguised as a man,
yes,
right?
and you're I get it, you guys like each other, but this seems
we're all
unsafe,
dying here.
right?
Yeah.
They're snipers.
Yeah.
All right, number 3 was number 1 the week before.
Okay.
It's a comedy drama, sort of a crime comedy, starring 2 huge movie stars who don't spend much time together on screen.
Oh, The Mexican.
The Mexican. Julia
This is
Roberts.
absurd.
This is what he does.
Yeah.
Julia Roberts and Brad Pitt.
I think some people
Igor
now
Verbinski.
wonder if I'm looking at the answers when I
No,
do
I'm
this.
looking at the answers.
I can vouch that you are looking at nothing.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. My brain is stupid.
I saw The Mexican for my 15th birthday party.
Oh,
in
congratulations.
Britain. I remember that.
Yeah, Gore Verbinski.
I haven't seen it
cover
since
someday.
theaters. I remember it being kind of good.
I saw it in Airplane. I think it's kind of solid. People at the time were Gandolfini's really
good in it.
People were angry that Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts
Have you seen The
weren't
Mexican?
in it together at all.
Nope.
They have one scene together, and it was sold as the 2 pretty people together.
Yeah, they only have a scene together at the end.
Yeah.
So number 4 is a dog movie that I've never heard of. Never heard of.
It's on C Spot Run.
It is C Spot Run.
What
That's
the
crazy.
fuck?
What is that? I don't even know what that is. It's made $24 million in 3 weeks. It's doing just fine.
It's a David Arquette family comedy.
David Arquette. Oh.
It's a David Arquette vehicle with him and a dog. I think
we're nostalgic for old, like the Hollywood of our childhood, but Jesus,
burn
David
the
Arquette dog vehicles?
Yeah. It's a David Arquette. I remember the posters, David Arquette on top of like a dog.
No. The dog. David Arquette's in the dog carrier. The dog's on top. C-Spot Run.
I think he's got to protect the dog for some reason. I think it's like someone important's dog, and the dog, it's kind of like a Marmaduke type. I did not, but this is what I remember distinctly about the movie. It's a Warner Brothers picture. And they put the first trailer for Harry Potter in front of it.
Oh, sure.
So the box office was boosted because this was still in the era, like you were talking about with Insomnia and the Attack of the Clones trailer. Right. Or not Insomnia, what was it? Ice Age with the Attack of the Clones trailer.
Yeah.
Where if you were like, you want to see the Harry Potter trailer, you got to go see this dumb David Arquette dog movie. And opening weekend, it made like $12 million because all these parents had to take their kids to it.
Are there things in your brain that you don't have room for because you've made room for this?
Almost. Anything else?
How to be a functioning person.
Yeah. My past and future guest and my friend Sam Rogal has said, it was like I think the most revealing moment that's ever happened on our show. You and Sam were talking about me while I was in the studio.
Right.
And you both said like, sometimes I just wonder how you make it through the day.
How do you like fry an egg?
Sometimes I'm standing around and I wonder how you do this.
All right.
I don't know anything other than this.
Yeah, Sam Rogal's banned from the show, as we know.
No, I'll be back.
Number 5, 50. Oh, well, now what is it? I almost said it. It's a crime thriller. Number 5 at the box office. I almost said the name. It's the first time 50? I've ever done that. No. Starts with fifth.
It's a crime
thriller starring a major, big actor and someone we make fun of a lot on this podcast, who was, I guess, a pretty boy of the moment. Jesus, it's such an irrelevant movie.
And it starts with fifth?
Yeah, it starts with fifth.
15 minutes with Ed Burns and Robert De Niro?
I gave that one away. I feel bad. Okay. Yeah. Never seen.
No, neither have I.
No, don't know anything about that.
So we rag on Ed Burns a lot.
Ed Burns, yeah.
His character in the Saving Private Ryan is from Brooklyn.
I don't know if you know that. It's subtle.
That's funny.
It's kind of subtext.
That's like a trivia piece of.
That Ed Burns' brother wrote Daddy's Home?
I didn't.
I watched Daddy's Home because Sofia Coppola.
You're a big Daddy's Home fan. I feel like Amy's the biggest Daddy's Home fan I know.
Whoa.
Is that true?
I mean, I think it's a really solid film, but I'm also a John Cena girl. So when he shows up in the end, I'm in love with this movie. I think John Cena is the untapped comic resource of the modern era. And I'm ready to retire The Rock and switch totally over to Cena.
I think Cena's better than The Rock.
I think Cena's great. No, I just feel like you're the only one who I read like really saying like we need to appreciate Daddy's
And then
Home.
Sofia Coppola said it was one of the 10 best movies of the 21st century. Did you not see that?
I did
in the
see
New York
that.
Times?
She did?
Yeah.
She said it was one of her 10 picks for the day.
With the caveat that she watches it all the time with her kids. But nonetheless, she does.
I feel very vindicated by that.
I was very pleasantly surprised by it. I remember the trailers being garbage, and I watched it, and I think it's a good character comedy. Like, it's actually good, like, character-based.
There you go.
They just put the couple of dumb, like, slapsticky scenes in the trailer, so it looked really broad.
It's true. And, like, I didn't know Hannibal Buress that well before I saw that film. He's amazing. He comes in, and I'm just like, I am in love with that.
Thomas Hayden Church is really good in it. There's that one scene where he yells after Hannibal Buress, and he's like, no, I'm still here. And then they spend this scene going like, oh, man, I was going to run after you, and I was going to say this. And Thomas Hayden Church is like, why don't you just do it anyway? He's like, well, I don't know. It feels forced now. I've already explained. They spend 3 minutes deconstructing the scene they don't do. And I'm like, this is a weird gag for like a family comedy.
All right. I'm cutting you off.
Good movie. Daddy's Home.
Just some other movies. Crouching Tiger. That's in the top 10 still.
Okay.
Down to Earth.
What's it up to at that point?
It's up to $100 million.
Crazy.
Exactly. Which is crazy when you think about
Insane.
it. Down to Earth, the Chris Rock Just Like Heaven remake or whatever. It's not Just Like Heaven.
Best movie?
Heaven Can Wait. I guess so.
Probably by default.
I need to rewatch
right?
them. I did see that one. Hannibal. Ridley Scott's Hannibal.
Yeah.
Chocolat.
Yeah.
Lasse Hallström Chocolat. Steven Soderbergh's Traffic. So a lot of the like Oscar holdovers, I guess.
This is when Oscar movies didn't come out on DVD.
Like
the
Castaway.
Week after the Oscars, when they would like start to really boom at the box office post ceremony.
But yeah, and then Memento had a very nice long run. It was in theaters all the way through September, starting in March. So it was like a real word of mouth hit. And it was always hovering, and like it only goes into the top 10 like for 2 weeks, but it's always sort of hovering around there. Kind of movie that doesn't really happen anymore.
It was an It movie, and he became the It director.
Yeah.
He was the kid everyone was talking
Thanks
about.
for coming by, Amy.
Thank you so much.
Dude,
for
wrapping
being
up.
here.
I'm glad that we could sit around and talk about this movie. Maybe someday he'll make another one like this.
Maybe he will. I don't know.
And we said in our Insomnia
Like,
episode,
I'm excited to see Dunkirk, but when I heard he was making a war movie, I was like, right, okay, another of the like big genres. Like, can't you be like, can't he do Ridley Scott and do a movie about Russell Crowe just drinking
I
wine?
was going to say.
You know, like, I love how Ridley Scott, in between like Kingdom of Heaven and Robin Hood and all, he's like, we should just do this movie where Russell Crowe just drinks wine in like a French villa. Yeah, like
They
nothing
should
happens.
do this thing where they sign directors to 2 picture deals for like $180 million, and they're like, you can split this up however you want.
Oh, right. Yeah. You want to do 2 90s, or do you want to do like a 150 and a 30? Or yeah. That's
Exactly. I would love.
I
for them
love
to do
that idea.
Right?
I
love that
agree,
idea.
but then you get the Book of Henry sometimes, you know?
We're about to record a Book of Henry. You'll have heard it at this point.
All right.
It's an emergency episode.
But
Well,
let's-
we say in our
let's
Insomnia
call it
episode,
quits.
I mean, Christopher Nolan seems more likely to be able to go back and do a smaller movie creatively than a lot of other directors would
Sure.
at his
I mean, he
level.
could do whatever he wanted.
You know?
Right? I mean, I don't know.
I think obviously he could do whatever he wanted, but it seems like he might actually choose to do that at some point. I hope.
I would hope so. I mean, imagine spending money gets boring after a while. Like, he's bought himself all the
Everything.
toys he ever wanted.
Yeah.
So what else does he need to do?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Are there any Nolan movies in the canon?
I think we voted Inception down,
Mhm.
and then I have not put another one forth.
You never did a Dark Knight episode.
Haven't done a Batman.
Yeah, we have not done a
You
Dark
don't
Knight
want
Batman
the fans
episode.
to at you.
I mean, I like The Dark Knight, actually. Like, I remember watching The Dark Knight at a press screening and then going home and watching the original Batman, the very, very first one
The
with
Burton
Jack
one.
Nicholson,
Mhm.
and suddenly feeling embarrassed of Jack Nicholson's Batman, a Batman that
know.
I had loved so much, and then feeling bad that I felt embarrassed for it, and having that sense of what is it like for an actor to think you did something definitive and then somebody just comes along and embarrasses you. It was almost like watching Jack Nicholson do it again with his pants off. It felt really terrible.
But it's funny to watch old superhero and supervillain performances where you're like, oh, right, they were just kind of like, does this work? You know, and then it's getting refined and it's getting come at from different angles.
Exactly. And then the truth is, like, I'd almost rather watch that now, I think, than
Sure.
another, like,
Yeah.
dark and twisted
for sure,
superhero movie, which
yeah,
is
it
why
comes
I
in
like.
waves, right?
Yeah, it's like Wonder Woman is the first Superman all over again. And
Yes.
that's great to
Yes.
just see it cheerful and big and happy, like innocent.
No, I agree. And
we
it
don't
feels
need-
like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
right.
she doesn't have to have a dead wife.
I mean, look, Amy, you got lucky actually, because usually you have to buy Jack Nicholson dinner if you want to see him play the Joker with his pants on.
Boy, I think he buys
As
the dinner.
Carrie-Anne Moss might know.
I want to give Amy the power in that scenario.
No, fair enough. If I'm
put
going
it
to
on
dinner
the
with Jack
tab.
Nicholson, pick up the check. Jack
MTV's
Nicholson.
picking it up.
You guys are talking about my dad, you know. Just kidding, just kidding.
It's a Father's Day dinner, I meant. It's a Father's Day dinner.
Oh man, imagine him being your dad. He has like a bunch of kids.
He has
got
a
time.
fashion designer named Jennifer Nicholson.
Mm.
There's not that many famous Nicholsons, so you take note of them.
You're right. I didn't even put it together though. Of course, Amy Nicholson, right here in our studio.
Right here, daughter
here.
of Jack. Illegitimate blonde daughter of Jack who grew up far away and looks nothing like him.
What a twist!
Oh boy.
We sure
That
Nolan
would be
this one.
a Nolan twist.
All right. Thanks
Well,
for coming.
Thanks
in.
for being here.
Everybody, listen to the
Yeah.
canon. Is there anything else you want to plug?
No.
Fair enough.
Everyone should read all
Plug
your
the canon
pieces.
again.
Yeah, you're an excellent writer.
For sure. One of our finest film critics for
paying
real.
attention. Follow
Yep.
the feed.
What do you mean
Well,
for real?
Nothing.
Oh, no.
I love
Wait,
you,
this
Benny.
just got
I love
suddenly
you, Benny.
tense in a way that I can't understand.
No. We love each other. Wow.
And as
Really
always,
letting that silence just. Anything else you want to say? Because he's about to do his stupid bit.
I think just bring on the stupid
Bring on
bit.
the stupid bit.
Wait, can I say that I like your shirt?
oh yeah, thank you. I'm wearing a shirt that's Alfred E. Newman dressed up as Axl Rose. I think the shirt was listed as Axl E. Newman. I like it because it's a cross section of the two people I admired the most when I was 13. My two 7th grade heroes were Alfred E. Newman and Axl Rose.
Axl Rose.
That explains how I ended up the
in
way I
like
did.
2000. Axl Rose was your hero.
Yeah, my two favorite bands in middle school were Guns N' Roses and Journey at the least cool moment to like either of those.
Really.
I got picked on equally for both of them.
Wow. That's like worse than like Weird Al being your favorite musician age 13.
Well, I transitioned from Weird Al. He was
I
probably my
love Weird
favorite
Al, to
musician
be
at
clear.
11. Yeah.
Um,
Do you understand how frustrating it is to like be like obsessed with Journey and have kids throw apples at my head and call me a fucking loser? And then, like 4 years later, it like
Glee.
becomes right. And everyone's like, "Oh, you like that song? It's like, so funny, right?" And I was like, "I was there when it mattered, when they needed me.
when they really no one
no one was standing
left
up
on
for
the
Steve
island.
Perry."
I bet those people who threw apples are quietly thinking, Griffin was right all along.
That's
What
my
a
fault.
trendsetter. What a cool guy.
why
I
I-
should let him know that he's the coolest and he
wish-
was secretly better than all of us.
Wish I still had that apple.
My friend Oliver Ignatius and I at summer camp did a ribbon dance to Don't Stop Believing, and I sprained my ankle, and I limped for the rest of the summer. And we tried
and then you had to explain why.
we ripped up fabric and we tied it to sticks we found in the woods. And
Things we do as
dance.
children.
And it was like, haha, we're in on the joke. But it was like, I just wanted to dance to this song my entire life. I wanted people to have to watch me dance to this song. Because I remember hearing Don't Stop Believing for the first time and said, why don't all sound like this?
Oh my God.
Anyway,
I'm really glad I told you I like your shirt.
yeah.
Yeah, that was
You
great.
triggered some good things there.
Bring us home, Griffin.
Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Memory can change the shape of a room. It can change the color of a car. Memories can be distorted. They're just interpretation. They're not a record, and they're irrelevant if you have the podcast. Hi, everybody. This is Griffin Newman. Welcome to Blank Check with Griffin and David.
I'm not part of this bit. That's it, right? We're done.
No, you gotta intro the show.
Jesus Christ. I'm David Sims. This is Blank Check.
Yeah, there you go.
Griffin and David.
We're hashtag the two friends.
Right.
All right.
I'm here too, producer Ben.
We're done.
Today we're talking about the movie Memento.
Done.
Yeah, I was confused by it.
Yeah, well, Ben, that's because you're bleeding.
Oh shit.
Yeah, David, push your head into a bathroom mirror.
Oh yeah.
It was
Enough.
David. Remember?
Enough.
Look at your tattoo. It was David.
It was. It says David on
Ben,
my
you
arm.
actually have tattoos, don't you? Do you have any tattoos?
No,
Amy?
Ben actually looked at his arm just in case.
He picked the wrong arm.
Oh yeah, that's really. Oh, I do have tattoos. All right, it's over.
Okay, bye.